Hello, friends. It's been a week of surprises and unexpected plot twists and turns, perhaps leaving you uncertain about the future. Uncertainty is the power that anything can happen, and a full moon this Friday is going to seal the deal. Keep streaming for Namaste Today Live. Hello, my earthly neighbors. Welcome to Namaste Today Live. My name is Sensei Christopher Witecki, a cosmic ambassador here to teach and coach you and inspire you into the most serious joy you've ever experienced in your life. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, X.com, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. If you're in our chat room tonight, please say hello to your friends and neighbors, your cosmic cousins, if you will, and tell us where you are from and what your astrology sign is. It doesn't take an astrologer to tell you that the world is changing fast right now. The truth is, as a species, we've been building up to this moment since before Christ. But this week, you will experience the feeling of the future. My question to you will be, how does it feel? So this week, in our Astro headlines, we're going to wrap up the sun in Scorpio, completely transforming your life into a new object or a new direction. Saturn will station direct. It's full steam ahead with karma. And a full moon in Taurus. This is actually the Halloween full moon, which means it's Happy New Year in pagan. And then later tonight on Astral Mingle, friend of the show and psychic medium Scott Cruz has returned since the summer of love. We're going to catch up and then gift all 12 signs a tag team prediction for Mars and Leo retrograde coming up in December. But before we get into all that, let's take a look at the week's moods and your zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, November 9th to Friday, November 15th, 2024. Looking first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, you'll be wrapping up what is in or what is out of your life, making the appropriate boundaries, and then acting on that between Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, it's partly cloudy but a little edgy. Step 17 indicates Saturn rules the day, so this is a day where you will feel responsible, ready to do something. What you're protecting is your authority and redirecting your energy into ways that are more crucial to your happiness and survival. With Venus squaring Neptune, it also means a major story shift as Venus is on the galactic center. On Sunday, it's sunny but somewhat sensitive. Step 18 means Mars rules the day. What you're protecting is your transformation. It's time to go ahead and move and change your life, and you're executing with purpose today. The moon is also dead into Pisces, so this is a karmic shift that you can feel. Zipping ahead now to the 5-day weekday forecast. Over the course of the week, you stay the course with these new boundaries, and then you see just how high this story might go. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's cloudy but familiar. Step 19 indicates Mother Earth Gaia rules the day. What you're protecting so far is your progress. Managing your emotional karma, making sure you don't fall into those old traps. And Venus enters into Capricorn, getting a little sharp, but getting focused. The moon crosses Neptune, so you feel a halamia, and then moves into Aries, which gives you inner strength. On Tuesday, it's cloudy, but mysterious. Step 20 indicates the moon rules the day, and the moon is in Aries. So what you are protecting today is emotional security. You basically must emotionally affirm or deny your fated destiny. And Mercury squares Saturn before it goes direct, so it also means you're having a shift in where the boundaries are, and that also talks to what the spiritual story will be. On Wednesday, it's sunny, but you are healing. Step 21 is when it starts to get fun. It's also when Jupiter rules the day. You're now expanding what's possible. You're protecting the narrative, what could be possible. You're feeling through solutions with the moon in Aries, and then the moon will shift into Taurus in preparation for the full moon. On Thursday, it's sunny and evaluating. Step 22 indicates Uranus rules the day, and this is important because Uranus is a big fixture of the upcoming full moon. 22 means you will feel where you end up belonging in the future, so what you are protecting now is your metamorphosis. It's time to get your shift together if things aren't moving forward. And Venus is sextiling Juno, indicating it's a new day when it comes to loving yourself. And then on Friday, it's partly cloudy but with a chance of thunder. Step 23 indicates Mercury rules the day. You are seeing a new vision and protecting that new vision of the future. You're also seeing into your personal power. The moon will apex as full during the day, apexing at 4:28 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. That full moon is the release of an old materialization in place of a new materialization. And gosh golly, that morning, Saturn stationed direct. That indicates it's full steam ahead when it comes to creating new karma. That full moon, of course, conjoining Uranus during midpoint of the day. So it's not only full steam ahead, but it's also permission to go ahead and build the new world.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel, our X Twitter channel, or Instagram. And on YouTube, hit the bell button so you're notified. And if you don't mind, everyone on every platform, please hit the like button no matter where you are watching. Namaste Today Live is sponsored tonight by the Serious Joy White Light Friday sale. That's right, we're turning Black Friday into White Light Friday. Whether you've been a subscriber in the past or you're new to the Serious Joy experience, we are offering you a 2-month trial subscription for just $3.99 a month. That's a $16 a month savings, by the way. Mars is stationing retrograde on December 6th, and you may experience a deep awakening, questioning what your purpose is and what your heart truly desires or values, and whether or not you can emotionally cope with the upcoming changes. Serious Joy will be specifically guiding people through this life-changing moment through programs such as the Daily Pep Talk podcast, the Sound Drop, Step Birthdays, Mega Monthlies, Self-Study Hall, and more. It's a great opportunity to sign up now. We'll have details and the promotion code right before or around Thanksgiving. And without further ado, let's take a look at the planets and transits. Friends, it has been quite a moment energetically, coming out of a lot of really a comeback for myself and I think for everyone. And of course, we're in the sun in Scorpio. If you're new to astrology, Scorpio is where you draw the line. And boy, oh boy, did the universe draw a line this last week. It's been a tumultuous week for many people. A lot of people are really heartbroken by the outcome. Although we've been saying here at Serious Joy, at least half the country was going to be unfortunately unhappy. And it's not really a matter of whether or not the right person is in charge. We feel here at Serious Joy, you have the capacity to create joy no matter what is happening in the world. And that's really what it's all about. So I talked about this last week. I'm going to reinforce it this week, that the big fork in the road that we really have right now is not who's president. It's not necessarily what the economy will do or not do. It's not what will happen in China or what will happen, of course, in Ukraine, although those are very important and sensitive topics, as well, of course, in Israel and Palestine. Energetically, we know that those things will have to be worked out and healed, but inside ourselves, we have the capacity to live in joy regardless of outside circumstance. So the real fork in the road, my friend, is not, again, what's happening in the outside world. The fork is whether or not you believe in your heart you have the capacity to manifest the reality that you want. That is, in fact, a whole slew of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs kind of things that our families and friends may not understand. But I have to tell you now, this is going to be my 19th year on YouTube, starting in January of 2025. I live this stuff. I make it happen. I don't just preach it. I myself have my dips and my downs, but I also have learned to rise above. I have found that I was always the lucky one that got the parking spot. I'm always the one that got the upgrade on the car. I'm always the one that didn't have something bad happen to my car when a whole stream of cars got keyed. Is it because I have good luck? No, it's because I believe in my heart that I can rise above certain circumstances because I understand how the universe works, what we call the architecture of incarnation. We are at a turning point right now. In fact, as we start this day, today we're at step 16, moving into step 17. Right now we're at step 17, currently at live tape time. And that means that we're at a point of making a decision. Between now and tomorrow, the universe is saying, hey, what are you going to decide? The question really that's underneath that question is, are you going to live a life of joy regardless of what happens in the outer world? Or are you going to feel sort of hijacked by the painting, the creation that you're creating in your heart? because that's what I believe reality is. My personal belief is that right now we're in heaven asleep, and we're all kind of connected and networked together in this dream. And if that's the case, if you are in fact dreaming right now, this reality, then isn't it possible for you to dream anything you want? Isn't it possible for you to respond in the dream in a different way? Is it possible? We're at that fork. And to strike it even deeper, this fork really is what I call the difference between the struggle bus and the rainbow bus. The struggle bus is based on what I just said. If you feel that you are a victim in your reality, where you have no control over whether or not you have income, whether or not you have enough, you have no control as to the quality of your life despite the outer circumstances, you're on the struggle bus, my friend. It's okay. I was there for many years. I'm not going to reveal my age as of tonight, but so there's no judgment there. But this is an exit ramp this week, the next 24 hours, frankly. Now, the other is what we call the rainbow bus. I joke about this because it's all the colors of the rainbow. It's also the path to ascension. And in my opinion, the path to what I call spiritual technology. Spiritual technology is the ability to project your aura into another environment, to astral project yourself and your aura body into an earth walk, to be able to go to other dimensions through meditation, to be able to send a message to your friend telepathically, maybe even to elevate and levitate. We've seen that with gurus in India. So this ascension path is exciting in my opinion, but it does require you to make a commitment. That commitment is very simple. It's in the essence of step 17. It is, will you make commitments based on 1, your heart, and 2, what your intuition is telling you? If you make choices simply by your heart and your intuition, it doesn't matter if you believe what I'm telling you. It doesn't matter if you believe in astrology. You don't have to believe, actually. This just is the way the universe works. Now, what's the comparison? You're making decisions not with your mind. You're not making decisions based on logic. You're not making decisions based on what your parents told you or society told you, or maybe even what our own government tells us. You're making decisions based on what your heart really wants in the moment. And what your intuition says is okay, is a green light. If you go down that path for the next 7 days until we get to next Friday, which is the full moon in Taurus, I believe you'll be on the way to ascension. Ascension being us rising to a higher joy, a higher happiness, reaching a state of we call serious joy, which we'll talk about another day. And even beyond that, honestly, I don't have very many memories from Atlantis, and I'm sure that sounds absurd to anyone watching who's new, but I do have some. And I do know that back then it felt like Candyland every day. It was magical. We felt this high of life, and we weren't on any drugs or plant medicine. We were feeling a high vibration. That's the potential here. And for those who are ready to make that choice, and I do think the choice is now, I believe that we will kind of walk together and figure it out as we go, because I haven't been on this path for 26,000 years. You haven't either. It's going to be exciting, and we don't know what we're going to see. And of course, there'll be hardship. Of course, there'll be people trying to bring us down off of our high unicorn horse, right? But nonetheless, I think we're on to an adventure, and that's really what a lot of us signed up for, was this ascension adventure. Now, to lay it out in the astrology, this is all backed up by a few things, and we'll talk about what's coming up this week. One is that we have Pluto moving into Aquarius on November 19th. That is a major event. The last time it was in Aquarius was the 1700s, okay? And when it wasn't at the dawn of the age of Aquarius. That was not that time. So we have literally this agent that will, for the next 24 years, force us to rise on a higher and higher frequency by killing off the lower frequencies. That's the biggest thing that's exciting. But on top of that, we have a Mercury retrograde happening at the end of the month, which means we're going to start to rethink what our story is, what our reality is, what we want to live. And then we have a Mars retrograde starting December 6th. This will be a profound change of heart. This will last from December 6th all the way to February 25th, if I'm not mistaken. And that means that during that time, which is why we're offering the white light sale at Serious Joy, because we'll walk you through it for basically $7. That time will be when people make a choice, a major choice as to what their heart truly believes in. So all you have to do in this next week is begin to step in the direction of what your heart tells you. What that means, I'll give you a simple example, is if you have the choice, for instance, to go look at clothes to buy or to go run some errands that you've been putting off, which does your heart want? Which does your heart want? Follow the one your heart wants. Now your mind will come in and say, oh, well, we have to do this and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And see, that's the choice right there, my friends. When you choose your mind over your heart in that moment, you're choosing struggle over joy. Now, you're not going to have to believe me here at face hand. You're just going to have to see for yourself what happens when you actually follow your heart. You will be led on a magical Willy Wonka trail. I'm not writing this stuff. This is the truth of how reality works. You will be amazed by your own self. You'll be amazed at what the universe presents if you just follow that sort of yellow brick road, that Candyland trail, which comes down to every decision starting this weekend, beginning with your heart and your intuition. Now, with that said, we have quite a week ahead of us. First of all, the theme of the week is, we've been talking about this, is the new soul economy. And by new soul economy, what I'm referring to is that you used to be based on a debt system, right? So your entire economy is based on a debt. Borrow money for a house, borrow money for this, borrow time from that. All this borrow to get ahead. This is a debt-based economy. Now, this is true when we're trying to prove to our friends that we're worthy. When we're trying to say, hey, let me show you and prove to you that I can do this. That's a debt-based economy. Our new soul-based economy is based on what I call soul credit and soul capital, which is that we give ourselves credit for who we are, and then we will attract the resources we need without having to prove ourselves. Again, don't take my word for it. Give this a try, see it in your own life. Now, what this does is create a new inner power. When you realize you are the one person, you are the Fed when it comes to your inner life and your inner self-worth, when you are the answer you've been always looking for, and when you realize you're also pleased with yourself and who you are, then you begin to create this new soul economy where you're sort of strutting your stuff, sort of like John Travolta in Staying Alive, right? Sort of strutting yourself down the road. You're starting to feel your groove. You're starting to feel your knowing and your value, and you'll start to attract the things in your life that you want to attract. This is the fork in the road. I can't keep saying it enough. This is the fork this weekend. So the key question of the week is, what future do I feel I belong in? And you really have to ask yourself that. This goes back to the fork. What future do you feel you belong in? Do you feel like you belong in a future where you have to have it all your way, the way your mind comes up with, in order to get what you want? Or do you feel you have a future where things are magical and unfold every step of the way, that they give you opportunities that you never imagined or dreamed of? You have to really feel it out. But you know what? You don't have to know what it looks like. You just need to know what it feels like. What it feels like is what's most pertinent. You can close your eyes. You can imagine a time where life felt good. And you can just tell yourself, yes, this is what the future feels like. This is the way I want to go. Now, that little exercise of questioning what your feelings feel like, what future feels like, that exercise is the compass, okay? When you tell the universe, I want to feel this way in the future, you're sending gigabytes. I don't even know how much data you're sending to God universe, to the form of a frequency of a feeling. Yes, it embodies the feelings of the past. It embodies feelings you've had before, but it also instructs the future of the matrix of what to create for you next. So to know what your feelings, what your future feels like, is actually the only guidance you frankly need. I can quit the broadcast right now. It's the formula for success. Moving into the week, what we're going to understand is that this moment ultimately is a whole new way of being in the moment. This is a whole new way of interacting with reality. We're going to be sloppy at first. We're going to make little mistakes. We're going to mismanifest things like exes and past life situations. But slowly but surely, if you start this journey right now in Scorpio, you in fact are on this place, on this moment to change your life. And by the way, this is all sort of underscored by the full moon in Taurus this coming Friday. This full moon in Taurus is technically the Halloween full moon. The Halloween full moon is technically the pagan New Year. So pagans actually did New Year's based on the full moon in Taurus, which goes back and forth. Sometimes it's near Halloween, sometimes it's not near Halloween. In this case, it's not. It came after the election. It came before Pluto and Aquarius. Very interesting. And what it means is it is the fresh start. So as we move through the week, if you feel what your future belongs with, and you come to that full moon of feeling it full, that will be the bat signal to the universe and Commissioner Gordon that you're now ready to step into the life you were born to live and you have unlimited, infinite possibilities of what can be created. So let's look at the planets for the week and dial this in. The sun this week goes from step 17 to step 24. So right now, we're at step 17. So that means that we are committing between now and tomorrow to what we want. Step 18 on Saturday, and we move into moving forward with that new future. Step 19 into Sunday. Step 20 starts to happen on Monday, and Monday to Tuesday, actually. And when that happens, then things get very passionate. That's where you need to know how you want your future to feel, because you're going to feel everything. You're going to feel loss. You're going to feel the past. You're going to feel the presidency. You're going to feel the politics. You're going to feel each other, okay? And because it's Scorpio, we're going to feel it unfiltered. We're going to feel it very intensely. This is why you have to have the golden compass of what your feelings of the future feel like, the future you want to be with feels like. And then we build up from basically Tuesday to step 20, 21 on Wednesday, 22 on Thursday. Big breakthroughs and breakdowns on Thursday, and then the full moon on Friday in Taurus, basically the pagan new year, when we actually step into this new wormhole and begin to slide down this magical water slide. Now, moving into Sagittarius, we currently have Venus in Sag at 27 degrees, so that means tonight Venus is on the galactic center. If you don't know what that means, it means God is listening. You are being right now connected intimately. This is a once-a-year event. It's like a galactic love fest, if you will, where we are one with the Milky Way. And so what you dream tonight will be proliferated across the Milky Way. Venus will then move into Capricorn. We'll talk about that in a moment, where we start to make some hard, cold decisions about what our heart wants or doesn't want. Mercury this week moves from step 9 Sagittarius to step 17 Sagittarius, which means our mind will act on a new way of thinking about ourselves and basically rewrite the script, or at least write the draft of what the new story will be. Now, over in Capricorn, things are still pretty intense. We have, of course, Pluto still at 29 degrees until November 19th. That 29 does mean that we are finding the 1,000 shades of gray, finding the subtle differences between where we give away our power and where we take our power. Venus, however, goes from 0 to 5 degrees Capricorn, which means by the end of the week, we open up and we accept this new power, or we accept the responsibility it takes for ourselves to be happy. Emotionally, let's look at the moon. The moon right now has gone from Aquarius into Pisces. It's actually in Aquarius through Saturday, excuse me. And then we move into Pisces on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. That means that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, you're doing a lot of karmic processing. That's a lot of letting go of the past, forgiving yourself for things you can't change, opening up to unlimited possibilities, choosing faith over fear. Then, of course, we move down to the moon in Aries, where we end up, yes, here we go. So on Aries, we end up going into this feeling of stepping into our power, feeling motivated, feeling reborn, feeling the rise of the phoenix as we go into Wednesday. Come Wednesday night, we're then feeling our value, our self-worth, and we start to build into this, this sort of drum beat, this sort of rhythm starting to build, where we begin to give birth, a full moon in Taurus, to the new Gaia, which is your reality. So a full moon in Taurus is a new Gaia, or a new matrix. Gaia is Earth, which manifests this illusion. Over in Leo, Mars has entered into Leo and moves from step 1 to step 3. This is, I think, a particular blessing because that's our ego right there, focusing on our self-love. How often does your ego actually care about your heart? Mars is right on that spot right now, so we are reminded of what our heart really needs. We're ready to act on what our heart needs. We're ready to stand up for the purpose of self-love. So the strength is there. The energy is there. If you don't love yourself, you're just lazy or don't care. I'm going to call it hard here in Scorpio. Now, over in Aries, the North Node is at 5 degrees right now. A 5-degree North Node means that God Universe is saying, go forward with what you think, put your words into action. Actions speak louder than thoughts or words. Chiron at 20 has us healing the emotions about the future. This is everyone freaking out that we have an apocalypse going on right now. People who are freaking out that there's going to be a totalitarian running the government, or that we're all going to find ourselves in FEMA cages. That is really Chiron is forcing us to heal all the past lives where that was the case, where you were a prisoner of war, where you were trapped in a containment camp, where you were under Mussolini or Hitler or Attila the Hun, okay? Like we've all had those past lives. This is the healing going on. So people ask me, why Trump right now? And I say, well, whatever the case, we would have been forced to heal our fears of a Trump now, regardless of whether or not Trump had won or if Harris had won. Now, moving into the Pisces realm, Saturn will station direct on the day of the full moon. Amazing. And Saturn at 12 says, new story. 12 nets to a 3, new story. Neptune, of course, coasting. It's 27 degrees all week long and retrograde. So we are basically pulling in the new destiny and the direction we want to go. Uranus, over at 25 degrees Taurus, Uranus in Taurus. Here we go. And the significance of that is that the full moon is actually going to conjunct Uranus. The full moon will be at 24, probably right here, 24 right here, right next to Uranus at 25. This is the catapult. Uranus is the escalator up that will take us to a higher realm emotionally. But Uranus also is breakdown. So for those of you who are on the struggle bus, breakdown. This full moon will cause major breakdowns for people who are living on the dark side of the moon. Now moving into Gemini, Jupiter's at 19 degrees, which means that we are manifesting the new story. We are manifesting basically the new script, as I've already mentioned. This, of course, is opposite Mercury in Sagittarius and Venus in Sagittarius. So there's this curriculum going on between what we believe, Jupiter, and Mercury in Sag. The other interesting thing about Mercury in Sag is Mercury is in Sag's sign and Jupiter is in Gemini's sign. So they're in their opposite rulership right now. And so when you have opposite rulership with heavenly bodies, you create a vortex that allows you to actually change the matrix. So Jupiter in Gemini is disrupting Gemini because it's the opposite planet. Mercury in Sag is disrupting Sag because it's the opposite planet. The two working together is rewriting the fabric of your new story. If you don't understand what the hell I'm saying, then just understand this. It means you have the magical golden pen that can write your destiny should you choose. And then let's go to Libra, which is what we're moving away from. Black Moon Lilith this week from 14 to 15 Libra. Now, what this is going to cause is breakdowns of relationships with people. I talked about this, many divorces, many separations, many business partnerships, pulling apart, doing something different. That's because of Black Moon Lilith. The fears are coming forward. So far in my personal life, not many people are able to handle the fear. They're giving up. They're stepping back. They're afraid to negotiate. They don't want to face that fear. They don't want to face that darkness. That is ultimately the choice right there where fear gets in the way of love. And so people who are falling under the surrender of Black Moon Lilith are going to find themselves maybe taking the wrong path and making some mistakes they'll regret for the rest of their life because they were just too afraid to step forward at the right time. The South Node at 5 degrees Libra says, cut out the bullshit, quit talking to yourself in the old way and the old rhetoric. It's not necessary. Quit talking to yourself the way you talk to yourself on the inside. Basically, the new inner voice needs to be completely different than it ever has been, says the South Node in Libra. So overall, it's a week of launching our new life, launching our new paradigm, boarding the struggle bus or boarding the rainbow bus. And so it's now time to talk about you, my friend. Go steep yourself some tea and let's have our weekly tea time. Welcome to Tea Time. This is the part of the show where we talk about each of the 12 signs and what we are manifesting on. And this week I'm going to bring up some qualities here. These turn into horoscopes, by the way, that we release on Tuesdays. So we release horoscopes on Tuesdays where we cut all these out. It's a great way to share with your friends if you want to understand, help them understand their astrology, help them understand their karmic story. But also it's a great reminder for you because these are deep and we're going to talk about some of the major changes going on. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the Sun in Scorpio. What are you moving ahead with this week? And ultimately, this has to do with transforming your life because the top degrees of Scorpio is life transformation. So in each of the 12 signs, I'll be talking about where in your life you are transforming your life and how your personal boundaries and the choices you make with your boundaries will be what transforms your life. Accepting one part of our life at that full moon, it is the pagan new year, and I'll talk about what you are releasing and accepting. Then I'll move on to Mars in Leo. This is where you are fighting for self-love, where you must stand up, be strong, be courageous, be bold. Don't bother with worrying about whether or not you create waves of disruption. Act now on that self-love. I'll underscore that for all 12 signs. And then finally, Saturn direct in Pisces next Friday. I'll talk about for all 12 signs where Saturn direct means your new story is starting. And it also means where karma will hit. You've been warned. You go back and do the same thing now that Saturn's direct. You're going to be bitch slapped right upside the head. Sorry about that. I won't say bitch slapped. You will be slapped, cosmically slapped right upside the head. I once got reprimanded for that word, so I apologize. But ultimately, Saturn is a biatch. I mean, it will definitely not let you guess for 1 second if you did something wrong. Can be kind of brutal. So let's begin, of course, with our signs, going through the signs in the from Aries, starting with the Aries. Aries, you are literally transforming your life right now. This is a life transformation. This is one of the biggest, maybe the largest life transformations you've ever made. This involves comfort zones. This involves safety. It will take your courage. Most signs don't have the courage you do, so I'm not really concerned about it. It's literally, are you going to jump in the cold pool or not? Are you going to take the cold plunge and let that ego go? That's the question. The full moon that happens on Friday is around abundance and prosperity. What the universe is saying is it is time to let go of any lack economy where you weren't enough, you were taxed, you weren't paid enough, you weren't respected enough, you didn't get enough response. That economy is over if you'd like. And you can now adapt an abundance and prosperity consciousness with this pagan New Year. So New Year's Eve, you're broke. New Year's Day, you're prosperous. Mars in Leo means it's now time to fight for your inner child. It's time to fight for self-love. It's time to stand up and be the parent you always wanted. It's time to be the friend you always needed. And remember, self-love is not just want, it's also need. So do the things you need to do to love yourself this week and focus on yourself. Then Saturn in Pisces says, hey, your spiritual direction is now moving forward. More than any other sign, this is the choice for Aries to either slowly decay from this point or slowly rise and ascend. There'll be two crops of Aries, the winged ego Aries and the grounded ego Aries. And I think Saturn direct is going to make that choice and separate people into two camps. Fascinating stuff. Get a little sip here. Moving on. Taurus. Taurus, you are now coming into a new partnership with life and everyone. So this is about transformation of your long-term partnerships. I can say that in my life, that's absolutely true. I'm operating by a completely new handbook and guidebook now. I am not going down the path I used to be. I am not tolerating the old things I used to tolerate. I'm done. I'm ready to move on to real partnership and perhaps marriage in the sense of combining forces, whether that's professional or romantic. The full moon in Taurus means that the old action plan, the old character, the old ego is dead. So there's an image of you that will no longer exist. I know I've done this a few times as a Leo rising Taurus. It's actually pretty thrilling, actually, and you usually get new clothes. Just saying. Mars in Leo says it's time now to be the nurturer you always needed to be. Self-love to a Taurus is emotional nurturing. You must emotionally nurture. I can't tell you how many Tauruses that I know that try to be nurtured by their partner or their wife or by hotels or by spas. Taurus is throwing all sorts of money at it, and you know what? Nothing is better than your own love for yourself. So nurture your feelings deep inside yourself. It's not an outside investment. And then Saturn in Pisces says, it's now time for Tauruses to take their rightful place in history. Saturn direct on Friday means this is it. You are being called to stage. It is now time to do what you were born to do. No, there's no more time. No, you cannot go back and get a candy bar. You must move forward, pass go, collect $200, and go as far as you can around the Monopoly board to get to Boardwalk. It is now time for Tauruses to make their mark. All right. Gemini. Gemini, it's time to change your quality of lifestyle. The life you're living is going to hold you back, period. And so far, I haven't met a Gemini that I like the life I heard they were living. I mean, when I say like, I mean as a sensei, as a person who coaches. Most Geminis are not living healthy lives, and when they are, there's something unhealthy about it. So it's now time to transform your lifestyle. That's when you go to sleep, when you wake up, who's in your life, who's not in your life, the whole 9 yards. So this is a transformation of your lifestyle. Feel what you want your lifestyle to feel like, just like I said. The full moon in Taurus, however, for you, has to do with your relationship to God, universe. A lot of Geminis have these different mental narratives where they're unlucky, they're the black sheep of the family, God doesn't love them, they don't believe in God, they're agnostic and don't want to connect. Honestly, if you don't connect to spirit, you're going to be in the low wattage of life. We're all going there. It doesn't mean you sign up for a religion, but it does mean that you have to open up and start to accept higher self and spirit. Mars, however, for you is in the 3rd house of attitude about yourself. The way a Gemini loves themselves is by the way they talk to themselves. You either talk loving or you talk hard, you talk brutal or you talk nice. How you talk to yourself is what self-love is about. So it's time to use nice language. And if you don't say it nice, rewrite it and say it again, me damn it. Now, lastly, Saturn in Pisces does mean that for those Geminis who face these things that I just listed, it is now time for your career success. I know you might have been waiting a long time for that career success. I know you started to question whether or not it would ever even happen. That's because you had so much karma around career. You had a lot of things to work out. But Geminis, you're the messengers of the new era, and we need you. So face your karma and get on board the rainbow bus before we're out of seats. All right. Cancer. Cancer, it is actually time for your personal dreams to come true. And those personal dreams include other things besides relationships, just so you know. But it is time to have the golden egg, what your heart's always dreamed of, that retirement place, that business, that work of art, that trip around the world. It's time. It is time. And if you don't do it now, it may not be able to happen. I'm just saying because of all the things coming up. Now, the full moon in Taurus means you're going to have to let go of a role you have played in society. And we all know what it is. Caretaker with a side of self-sabotage. So it's now time to stop being the caretaker with a side of self-sabotage and embrace a different role in the world. Your ambition needs to be based on what your heart wants, not what you're good at. Mars in the 2nd says, hey, your self-worth comes down to whether or not you respond nice to yourself. It doesn't matter what he said or she said or they said or the report card said. What matters is how you respond to that moment, if you give yourself credit or you tear yourself down. So self-love is being there for yourself. And then lastly, Saturn direct means for those Cancers who can rise above, as I just mentioned, it is now time for your life purpose. Cancers are on the path to the life and story they were born to live. And that only comes down to if, in fact, you are letting go of that old ambition, embracing the new one, chasing after what your heart wants, and most of all, really being there for yourself with self-worth. Okay. Leos. Leos, you are building a new emotional foundation. This is a new way of treating yourself. This is a new way of building credibility with yourself, feeling good about yourself when you don't have the bling, you don't have the likes, and you don't have the following. This is you feeling grounded as a king or queen of your homestead. This is homeland security. This is family. This is legacy, emotional family legacy. And this is stability, how you feel stable. So how secure do you want your future to feel? That's the question. Do you want to feel strong and grounded in the future? Do you want to feel by the seat of your pants? The full moon in Taurus says, yes, you had some vision for what you're going to be and what your legacy was going to be, but there's parts of that were material based, that were shallow, that were surface, that were based only on money. You got to let go of those parts. Money is a given, Leo. What you need to do is really focus on the value you intend to bring the world. What value will you bring the world by sharing your gifts? That's what the full moon commands. Now, the Mars is in your sign, Leo, so you're probably feeling like hot shit right now. You're being strong with that Mars ego placement, but you also might be feeling a little bit self-sabotage-y. And that's the thing. Leos self-sabotage. They drive the car right into the wall. They sink the boat. They, bankrupt the company. They always are their own enemy. And so that comes down to how you respond to yourself, how you love yourself. When you make a mistake, do you love yourself or do you put yourself down? Or do you try to show off and find pride from the outer instead of pride from the inner? Now, Saturn direct means You're about to change your entire life, Leos. In fact, look around, folks. Look at your Leos. They're about to transform their life in a way you never imagined was even possible. But that will only happen, again, if you are being nice to yourself, if you let go of that material vision of the future, and if you really brace a strong emotional foundation. Okay. Virgos. Virgos, you now are changing your mind. Thank God. You've been so stubborn about the way you thought it had to be. And that was the problem. Your stubbornness, okay, of your mind being inflexible, your mind basing on what you've seen, not what you can imagine. And also your mind being so damn defensive all the time. Yes, I got a little pet peeve on this one with y'all. But it's okay. You adopt the right attitude and you'll have everything you want in life. Now the full moon says, hey, it's time to drop that old life purpose. The old life purpose might have been in service, proving to yourself, throwing your needs under the bus for family or other people. But there's a new purpose being born right now, and that's only, of course, if you drop the attitude that keeps you there. Mars in Leo says it's now time to have faith in yourself. Your ego must choose faith over fear. Every time you choose fear, that means you let yourself live in a state of fear, live in a state of worrying. Worrying is fear, by the way. So if you're in a state of worrying, you're in a state of fear, you're going to sink like a rock. If you're in a state of faith and just go, screw it, I'm just going to have faith in it and see if it blows up, you will rise like a hot air balloon above all the other Virgos. Now, Saturn direct means it is now time for the new relationship prototype to move forward. If you haven't met Mr. or Miss Right, you will. This is now time to create new karma, new relationships that have different circumstances. You'll have to forgive and forget all the things that have happened to you in your relationships. But if you can let that all go, you have a whole new type coming in. So when a Virgo says, that's not my type, I said, before Saturn went direct at 12 degrees Pisces, it was your type. Moving on. Libras. Libras, you are now stepping into a new connection to abundance and prosperity. It's now time for Libras to get what they deserve. It's now time for them to claim their worth, to move into abundance, to move into manifestation. It's something you'll have to feel your way to. And you're still under a hard south node in your sign until next year. But it is time now to step in that potential. The full moon, however, says that Libras have got to transform what they consider emotional security. You have certain emotional walls up that are keeping you from your money. You have certain emotional walls up that say stay away instead of bring it in. Let me take it. I'll accept this. I'll accept my abundance. Mars in Leo says you've got to determine with your heart who you are in society. You're not supposed to be in society based on what society needs from you. You're not supposed to drop your needs for every person that walks by. You're not supposed to be friends to everyone. You're supposed to be a best friend to yourself. And so if you're a best friend to yourself, you'll find the best friends in life. If you continue to be a shitty friend to yourself, you'll continue to have bad reputations or get the one left holding the stick or the one who gets screwed over. So be your best friend right now, Libra. You'll do yourself a whole lot of justice, pun intended. And with Saturn direct, it does mean that Libras are beginning a new life now. It's time to open up to a whole new expression of daily reality. It's time to open up now to a whole new way of living. And this way of living is different. I know life has been shit, Libra. I know, but that was the old karma. That's not the new world. Take my hand. Let's go through that door. Scorpios. Happy birthday, Scorpios. I know it's been a shifty one for you, but guess what? Lots of good things are going to happen. It's now time to be the Scorpio you've always wanted to be. That means that you're not spending your life being the police officer or the one that has to say where the line is or the one that has to call out the cheater. You decided you had to be that person. We never asked you to. God knows I don't want Scorpios pointing at me and calling me a cheater. You signed up for that. So it's time for you now to have a different character or plan than you've had before. It's your right. Do it. We don't care. We'll have a good time watching you. The full moon in Taurus means you're going to have to drop all of your petty shift when it comes to relationships. And yes, it's petty, okay? I got to say, knowing a lot of Scorpios, you hang on to these little details you make so important. But the moon in Taurus says it's time to bankrupt all that negative dark side of the moon stuff around relationships and people who burned you and not been there for you and not loved you the way you want to be loved. It's tiring. If you drop that and you embrace a whole new paradigm of relationships, the relationships will come. And guess what? Saturn, direct in Pisces, means that it's time now for you to really have your dreams come true. But for that to happen, I can't underscore it enough. Drop the defensive, character. Drop the old misgivings of relationships. And with Mars in Leo, you've really got to love yourself and make all decisions in your life based on loving yourself. If it's not a loving decision for yourself, which you need, not just what you want, then you will not find yourself in bad career situations. You will not find yourself being taken advantage of by others. And this is why your personal dream story with Saturn and Pisces will go true, because now you're basing all decisions on what your heart really wants and what's good for you and what you need. All right, enough for that one. Did you hear some lecture there? Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you are now making major changes with God and the universe. You may feel like you were abandoned. You may feel like you were misled. You may have felt like your karma dumped you off in the middle of nowhere. But whatever the case is, it's time to create a new bond with higher self, the angels, God, universe, you name it, and really claim your relationship to higher self and the universe. The full moon in Taurus means it's time to drop an old way of life. Sagittarius are usually on the go. They're a million miles a minute. You got to kiss them while they're around because they're going to be gone in a minute. That life has got to go. It's no longer time to have Sagittariuses, in my opinion, that are always on the go, always traveling, and most of all, running from their problems. It's now time, I think, to ground and get connected to your life and really create a life that reflects you rather than going around the world trying to find the life that reflects you. Now, Mars is in your favorite sign or favorite house, the 9th house, and this means that it's time to fall in love with what you believe in about yourself. If you believe in yourself without proving it, if you believe in yourself without having to explain, if you believe in yourself without proof or like experience on your resume, you're going to fly like a unicorn. If you believe in yourself based on other means, you're going to sink, okay? I'm not going to use the analogy I was going to use, like a dead unicorn at the bottom of the sea. But Saturn direct in Pisces does mean that your icky childhood is over. Feeling bad about life is over. Feeling insecure about life is over. That karma is over. Yes, you want to come from a bad home, but if you've done your work, you're not going to be reincarnated into a bad home anymore. It's now time for you to create the home you always wanted inside yourself. Capricorns. Capricorns, you are now marking your new place in society. And I know you find yourself a little homeless when it comes to your place in the world because, frankly, we're closing down all the monopolies. We're getting rid of all the cheating in business. I'm not saying that it's all Capricorn. I'm saying the world of business is your world, and it's crumbling, and it's changing, and there's regulation coming. RFK is after those people. So you have to find a new place in where you see yourself in the world. And perhaps you already see yourself in that place, but you've been afraid to go there. Mark this as your cue. It's now time to go forward. The full moon in Taurus says that you've got to drop an old dream you once had. That dream might have been based on power or influence. It might have been based on proving to others what you're capable of. But it sure as hell wasn't based on what your dreams are and what your heart wants just because your heart wants it. Or maybe what your heart needed. So this full moon is a pagan new year when it comes to personal dreams, the Golden Egg Project, you name it. Mars in Leo says you're going to have to trust yourself. And if your heart lights up, you can trust. If your heart doesn't light up, you can't trust. That's it. You can only trust as to whether or not your heart's in it. If your heart's in it, you will win it. If your heart's not in it, you will sink. The Saturn in Pisces direct on Friday means that you are done with the mind games. You are done with the guilt trips. You are done with falling down rabbit holes of worry and going back and forth and feeling guilty about things. It's now time to think spiritually, compassionately, openly, and intuitively. It's time to incorporate your intuition into your logic and your thinking, and that starts on Friday with Saturn direct. I'm going to take a drink. Aquarius. Aquarius, you are now crafting and carving out a new place for career and legacy. Turns out you have a place in history that you may not have known or accepted you were supposed to be in. And so over the next week, what you feel the future is what you feel your legacy and career is. So you're moving far and fast, I think, in making a dent and starting to move into your power position for the dawn of the age of Aquarius. The full moon in Taurus means, though, that you've got to get rid of an old model of what emotional security is. Your old model of emotional security might have been hiding in the closet or escaping people or ghosting people. Maybe your emotional security was having lots of money in the bank or having a title or having people sort of kiss your butt and say you're great. You need to now have emotional security on your own terms by yourself with no one else. This full moon is a new year when it comes to emotional security. Mars in Leo, your opposite sign, says you must now love yourself and love yourself some more when you are with yourself. The more you love yourself in the background, Aquarius, the more you act like a Leo in the background, the more you will rise to your potential and be the magician and the leader that we're all looking for the age of Aquarius. Saturn direct in Pisces means, guess what? Money is coming. If you had poverty consciousness, if you had huge debt, if you've gone through bankruptcy, if you had to lose a business, whatever the case is, that was karma, my friend. It's over as of Saturn direct on Friday. The Aquariuses are going to start making a lot of money. And then the Pisces. Pisces, you are now crafting a new life purpose and meaning. Seems that now you've faced all your karma, you don't know what to do. It's now time to move on to basically being role models that wraps up the age of Pisces. In a nutshell, that's what Pisces are going to do. They're going to role model where we're going. They're going to show us how to walk that Christ consciousness. Christ conscious, by the way, is not just tied to Jesus. It's tied to many different ascended masters. But overall, the Christ consciousness is creation incarnate. So you are now, it's time to get on that Christ conscious path. The full moon means you're going to have to drop an attitude. That attitude might be laziness, procrastination, worry, escapism, okay, all sorts of things. I've seen all sorts of different ways that Pisces waste time in their mind. You got to drop all that shift now and adopt a fresh attitude that incorporates your values and your potential. With Mars in Leo, it means you've got to take care of your health. If you don't love your body, you will not be able to do your mission, period, okay? Pisces are the farthest away from body. Virgo is body, Pisces is spirit. God Universe is basically saying, hey, I know you want to just float in alcohol or float on a cloud or float through the Nile, but you've got to love yourself. Your body has got to have the nutrition, the love, the respect that it deserves. And then finally, Saturn in your sign means that Pisces have officially shaved off their karma. As far as I'm concerned, they've shaved off their karma. Now, if you want to repeat your karma, go right ahead. It's your choice. But you owe nothing according to the planets. You don't have to do anything according to the planets. Just move forward and with what your heart feels, and you'll begin an entirely new karmic record beginning next Friday. All right, friends, that is our Tea Time Horoscopes. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to take a little intermission. When I come back, psychic medium Scott Cruz, one of my besties, is here. We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. This Zodiac weather is from Saturday, November 9th to Friday, November 15th, 2024. Looking first at the weekend forecast. Over the weekend, you'll be wrapping up what is in or what is out of your life, making the appropriate boundaries, and then acting on that between Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, it's partly cloudy but a little edgy. Step 17 indicates Saturn rules the day. So this is a day where you will feel responsible, ready to do something. What you're protecting is your authority and redirecting your energy into ways that are more crucial to your happiness and survival. With Venus squaring Neptune, it also means a major story shift as Venus is on the galactic center. On Sunday, it's sunny but somewhat sensitive. Step 18 means Mars rules the day. What you're protecting is your transformation. It's time to go ahead and move and change your life. And you're executing with purpose today. The moon is also dead in the Pisces, so this is a karmic shift that you can feel. Zipping ahead now to the 5-day weekday forecast. Over the course of the week, you stay the course with these new boundaries, and then you see just how high the story might go. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's cloudy but familiar. Step 19 indicates Mother Earth Gaia rules the day. What you're protecting so far is your progress, managing your emotional karma, making sure you don't fall into those old traps. And Venus enters into Capricorn, getting a little sharp but getting focused. The moon crosses Neptune, so you feel a halamia, and then moves into Aries, which gives you inner strength. On Tuesday, it's cloudy but mysterious. Step 20 indicates the moon rules the day and the moon is in Aries. So what you are protecting today is emotional security. You basically must emotionally affirm or deny your fated destiny. And Mercury squares Saturn before it goes direct, so it also means you're having a shift in where the boundaries are, and that also talks to what the spiritual story will be. On Wednesday, it's sunny, but you are healing. Step 21 is when it starts to get fun. It's also when Jupiter rules the day. You're now expanding what's possible. You're protecting the narrative, what could be possible. You're feeling through solutions with the moon in Aries, and then the moon will shift into Taurus in preparation for the full moon. On Thursday, it's sunny and evaluating. Step 22 indicates Uranus rules the day, and this is important because Uranus is a big fixture of the upcoming full moon. 22 means you will feel where you end up belonging in the future, so what you are protecting now is your metamorphosis. It's time to get your shift together if things aren't moving forward. And Venus is sextiling Juno, indicating it's a new day when it comes to loving yourself. And then on Friday, it's partly cloudy but with a chance of thunder. Step 23 indicates Mercury rules the day. You are seeing a new vision and protecting that new vision of the future. You're also seeing into your personal power. The moon will apex as full during the day, apexing at 4:28 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States. That full moon is the release of an old materialization in place of a new materialization. And gosh golly, that morning, Saturn stationed direct. That indicates it's full steam ahead when it comes to creating new karma. That full moon, of course, conjoining Uranus during midpoint of the day. So it's not only full steam ahead, but it's also permission to go ahead and build the new world.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.
Are you or your loved ones suffering from CRDR like this? Even though I have absolutely no game plan, I'm going to be a multi-millionaire in the next 6 months just by visualizing. Because as all the YouTube videos say, I'm worth it. Or like this.
Even though he's straight and he's gone to prison for gay bashing, I can see us together, super cute. So I'm going to go up to him directly and I'm going to ask him out. Because I'm worth it.
Or how about like this?
Even though I'm 60 years old and have absolutely no rhythm and a butt as flat as a pancake, I'm visualizing my inner Kardashian coming out. So I'm quitting my job and I'm going to twerk my way to the top because I'm worth it.
Are you or your loved ones suffering from the creating reality despite reality syndrome? Well, hi. I'm Scott Cruz, psychic medium and mentor, and I'm here to help. Helping you to bring your actual thoughts into actual reality. Bringing the I am, the I'm, into possibilities. Helping you to avoid decades of delusion, as well as making very fatal mistakes.
It's okay! I can alter gravity with my mind!
So visit scottcruzpm.com and find out what your possibilities are.
Hello, this is Donkey Trump, and together we can make manifestation great again.
Welcome to Astral Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and innovative influencers of our time. Now that we've been on the internet for a year with Astral Mingle, we thought about circling back and checking in with some of our favorite guests. And tonight's guest is not only one of my favorites, he's also the co-host of our weekly talk show, LOL Leading Out Loud, which airs on Thursdays, if you're not familiar, at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. But Scott Cruz is a psychic medium that recognized his gifts as a young boy growing up in a house with poltergeist activities. He spent years denying his gift, at one point even trying to heal himself with religion, only to later realize that he actually has an amazing gift for connecting to the spirit realms and relaying messages from dead people. His psychic talents also read situations in the living, such as health conditions, situations around love, and he has a nose for smelling something rotten hidden beneath view. He has made a celebrity debut on Bravo's Real Housewives of Orange County, where he famously called out a cast member for lying about a cancer diagnosis, and that was an amazing episode. Scott's magic can be witnessed every Thursday night on his own channel at 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific on his YouTube channel, Scott Cruz PM, where he gives global reads and pulls cards for people watching. On top of all these talents, Scott is also a talented musician, having recently released a latest single. Actually, we got that wrong last time. Sorry, Scott. So please send waves of love and gratitude to welcome our guest, Sep 13 Grandmaster Aquarius, Psychic Medium, Scott Cruz. Woo!
Hi guys. I was not expecting
buddy.
that commercial to be run.
I love the commercial, man. We had to
Right.
run it. It was awesome.
That's cool.
It shows
Sorry
how
for
you're
those who I
quirky and
offended.
fun. Oh, there we are. We just switched sides. Now
Yes,
you're the
I guess
top.
I'm looking your direction.
So, welcome back, dude. I haven't seen you since the Summer of Love on this show.
Yeah.
I am blessed with your presence every Thursday on LOL.
Yeah.
Just on a personal touch, man, how are you doing personally?
Great. I mean, I feel I like being a guest because I'm, doing my show and co-hosting LOL. It's nice to be a guest. I like it. It can be in my own comfortable zone. But no, things are great. I mean, I'm just really kind of, working on my niches within my work and and just finding different creative outlets and, and relationships are doing well in my life. So, yeah, everything's great. And so, I'm excited to see what's going to come next. I'm in a mode, I would say, of pushing buttons lately. So,
Oh, yeah,
but,
you are. I saw your political stuff on the election on Instagram and stuff like that. I saw you sicking like a dog on some bad negatives we had on our LOL stuff. He's
Yeah.
like, "Arr, arr." Let's talk election real quick. I mean, psychically, what do you pick up on what's happened to the nation, and where do you feel it's going next?
I really feel like it's really been just a lot of repetition. And I've said this on my show too. Like I look back at back 20, 30 years ago, like news articles, TV shows, talk shows, and because I'm always fascinated to see how far we come, and not that far with these topics. So I feel like a lot of repetition, but I think people are getting really frustrated about the repetition, right? And so I think that's bringing a great awakening for a lot of people because they're starting to see, I'm tired of saying the same things. I'm frustrated. So to me, this has always been a very positive thing for our society of growth. And so there's going to be divides, people fighting and not wanting to listen, but at least people are standing up is what I'm seeing. At least people are using their voices. The next step is listening. So,
Right. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
feel intuitively. I mean, I've said this on our LOL show that I feel like anyone who had like a communism past life, or they're locked up by Mao or, or Russia Revolution or whatever, they all purged all their fear with Biden and Harris because
Right.
they're all terrified that communism was taking over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like all the people have past lives with dictators like Mussolini, Hitler, Mao. Well, not Mao, but same. But nonetheless,
Right.
even Attila the Hun.
Sure.
I feel like they now have to purge their dark shadow of like
Right.
one man taking over the world. So to me,
Right.
it's healthy at the end of the day, although maybe not comfortable, right?
It's not comfortable, but I'm seeing a lot of people who may not have had voices before using their voice, and so
Yeah.
it takes time to learn that. And so, I think that when people are purging, that's also a good sign that people need to purge. So it's ugly, but I feel like, and I know people are thinking that there's going to be like so many different parameters to say if it was Kamala or Trump, and I'm like, actually, psychically, I feel like both selections that whoever would have won leads down the same trajectory in the end. We're all headed toward the same destiny either way. It might be different in different packages, but I feel like we're still on the right track either way. That's
And that
collectively.
destiny is Armageddon, right?
Armageddon, yeah, complete hell. No, no, I think we're in the hell now. I think we've been in the Armageddon, the desolate energy, like spiritually desolate and divisive energy. To me, this is what Armageddon really is. And so, the trial and tribulation, I think, is the period we're in now. So, I think we are headed toward that resurrection. And I really do think the revelation in the Bible is really talking about us and us evolving and raising frequency, and kind of abandoning the old, patterns of the past. And we're actually rising frequency. So I think that's a testament that we are going to be rising above from all this, actually.
You think resurrection is now like the 2020s?
Well, I think resurrection won't be probably until like another 5 years. Again, like it's not like it just people think it just happens right away. I'm seeing this collective rising. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think we are in process of raising that frequency of expansive consciousness right now. So we're in the process of it. But yeah, the trial and tribulation period is very challenging and trying times. But it's necessary for our species to evolve.
I mean, I always wondered, I knew I was on this path from a very young age, like maybe 18.
Yeah.
I always wondered how it was going to happen, though. I didn't quite know, like, how the hell is everyone to expunge all their dark shadow in a matter of 8 or 10 years?
Right.
Donald
Well,
Trump,
Trump has been the good
He's one of them,
catalyst to divide.
yeah.
Yeah, and so and I try to let people understand. Let's look at the objective spiritual version of this, and it doesn't mean we have to dismiss or put our heads in the sands about like this situation is going on now. But I've been seeing just a lot of misinformation about rights, about the political
Yeah.
narratives that's being driven, and so we just want to make sure we're like cross-checking things and just doing a little research about what's really going on. Because I always say we're always misled by political hacks in a sense that we're being led to feel a certain way and gaslit to be feel a certain way, so we vote. And so if we look beyond and say, are we really having issues with that right? And so we can get a bigger picture, and I think more and more people are doing that. They're fact checking the fact checkers, and I think this is a wonderful time to expand consciousness that we are realizing we are in control actually.
Yeah,
So
that
yeah.
we are the creators.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Moving psychically ahead with your third eye, what do you see happening with the country and the world in the next 2 years per se? Have you seen anything?
Honestly, I'm kind of really trepidatious, right, about before the inauguration. I just think there might be another assassination attempt.
Oh gosh.
I just been feeling this. There's too much hatred going on, and so that energy is going to start being purged. And I always kind of felt like, even though I made a prediction on my channel, friends have reminded me, oh, you predicted Trump in 2024 back in 2020, and I'm like, yeah, I forgot, because everyone asked me to predict things. And
Ah,
but recently I predicted, I saw Trump winning the popular vote, but I said I feel this weird stalemate energy, right? And so I'm thinking like, okay, he won the popular vote, but like I still feel the stalemate energy. So that to me feels like maybe something occurs that gets him out of office. But again, don't take this prediction verbatim. It's just a feeling I'm trying to decipher, because sometimes it's clear, predictions, sometimes it's hazy. So I don't know what this energy is that kind of interferes in a sense, but I think we'll find out between now and the inauguration day.
let me tell you right now, man. I looked at the chart of JD Vance. You do not want Trump dead.
Yeah,
Vance,
right.
I think, is incredibly intense. And if
Hmm.
I'm not saying he's bad in any way, but I just think he's young and he's hungry like a pit bull. And it's like, you don't want to let him out of that cage too soon, whoever you are out there thinking about that.
Yeah, yeah, that's
That
true.
would be
That's true.
pretty intense, actually, I think.
I think he just said something too, like he called it like fabricating a story, and he says, "Well, sometimes you have to create stories to support a narrative," and I didn't like that. I didn't like hearing that,
With
because
Vance.
that
Yeah, they're both,
with Vince.
he's a Leo. So,
Ooh.
the last Leo president we had was a Barack Obama, and the one before that was
Oh,
like 100 years prior.
oh,
So,
interesting.
Leos are like the least common president. That's because they
Yeah,
want to be king. But
very
I
true.
digress, right? Speaking of king, I mean, we do this show together once a week called LOL, Leading Out Loud. It, as I said, airs at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. We have a good time. And this week we did a hell of a show. I think we did a
Mm,
focus on, karmic crimes.
yeah,
And we focused on, the Menendez brothers. Remember?
yeah.
It was
Oh,
just,
remember, yeah. How can I forget? That was this morning. Was it this
I know,
morning? I
yes,
forget.
it was just, yes, was it
Was it
this
this
morning?
morning?
Yeah. But it was a great show. But I found it really interesting just with your talent and the ability to, tune into the Menendezes. You had said that they were not sort of answering the doorbell in heaven. You're ringing the doorbell, they weren't coming. But just remind us as a little teaser for those who haven't seen the show, what you were picking up on with the Menendezes situation.
Yeah, I do feel like the sexual abuse rang true to me, like in a way, because I got more representation of the parents, but then I was able to kind of remotely view the kind of like the timeline in a sense. So I definitely was feeling in the younger years there definitely was sexual abuse going on. And who is the earlier Mendez? What's his name? The
Lyle,
eldest.
Lyle and
Yeah,
Lyle and Eric.
Lyle feels still to me to have sociopathic tendencies still, and so there's something still with him that I feel like would be very, detrimental. And I think that he was kind of the ringleader of kind of assisting with his younger brother to go forward with the murders. But I do feel like there was truth behind that, and I also feel like even with the parents, there was some sort of cult-like energy or other issues going on with the parents that I feel like that. And I don't know much about the story. I didn't see the Netflix thing, but I feel like even Lyle was also forced to do it on the abuse on other children. I feel like as well, and the mom felt like to be an enabling energy. Now you confirmed to they mentioned that on the show. I haven't watched it yet, but it is true. It is true. But I'm also concerned about that kind of sociopathic energy that Lyle does have, even if he were to get out. So, and there
Yeah,
was some
you had mentioned.
manipulations.
Yeah, there's a lot of, rumors about Hollywood having like child trafficking cults and things like
Mm,
that. And
yeah.
it's almost like you felt like it was maybe a bigger part of that, not just a single family situation.
Yeah, it definitely was kind of going outside into like cult like, and I definitely was sensing they had, Lyle and his brother had issues with cult and previous incarnations, right? And having a dictatorship. I think what they said, genocide. I think Lyle was a part of
Oh
in a
yeah.
previous incarnation or something, right? So it's kind of carrying on. So that he still possesses a lot of that anger, and that zeal, in this incarnation. So that could be very detrimental. I would feel moving forward if it's not completely resolved in that sense, But
Sieg Heil. Yeah, I think he might have been a Nazi.
Right. Yeah.
Like a Magdalene or something like that.
But and I want to say, because I think someone said too, people, because someone experienced sexual abuse, that somehow that just justifiable what they did. I'm saying I have gone through sexual abuse and suicidal ideation, ritualistic abuse. I've been through those situations to where like my mind didn't go to think about killing them, right? So there has to be still a tick in someone that goes that far of killing, and a lot of it is previous unresolved karma from past incarnations for sure.
Yeah, I know that ritualistic abuse when I worked for Sizzler. It's horrible.
Keep flipping. Churn that butter.
It was bad, man. The buffet bar still terrifies me. Yeah, fried okra. So this week on Thursday, we're actually going to have Armageddon as going to be our topic. So that's going to be fun. And we've just booked David Palmer to come in and riff with us. So it's going to be a good episode next Thursday. Everyone should join us and see. It's going to be three amigos there talking cosmos.
Well, it's funny because everyone keeps mentioning David Palmer's name around me. I'm like, I don't work with him. I don't know. They're like, have you heard his thing? I'm like, no. So maybe it'd be good now to put us side by side too.
Oh, yeah, I think it'd be good. David and I go way back, and you two are kind of feisty. I'm looking forward to seeing what that brings out. Not in a bad way. I just think, low to the person who doesn't... who disagrees with either of you. Y'all just keep it down in the chat. Don't be too crazy now.
It's probably going to be David versus Scott, the Leo versus Aqua. No. Well, I love disagreements. I love disagreements. What I don't like is people, condemning or judging, mistreating people. That's one thing I don't like. Disagreements are wonderful. I love dialogue, and I think it's great. I think that's why we do what we do. Yeah. But condemning, judging people and all that stuff and minimizing, that's the thing that I just don't tolerate.
That's where the line is, for sure. You can never go.
For me. Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, got it. So I'll condemn you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Let's move on to our topic of the week, or while you're visiting here. We're going to do some horoscopes today, two of you and I. Now, we did the Summer of Love together.
Yeah.
Do you have any recap on what the Summer of Love turned out to be for you?
For me, there's so much going on. Actually, I think the Aqua read that I did, I think if I'm not mistaken, that Aquarius will find love or stability in love, and that really happened this summer for me.
It did
actually.
for you.
Yeah, it did, because I'm like thinking oh, my prediction worked for me. My relationship had really kind of. What's that?
It was only for you. No, I was kidding.
Only for me. No other Aquas. It was
every Aqua's like, what the fuck? I don't got mine. Yeah.
You don't got love. You get love. But yeah, no, my relationship really started solidifying this summer, actually.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, actually we're, probably we're talking next year to move in together. So, yeah, a lot of great changes in the love sector for me. And I actually had a lot of clients that, who've learned about Serious Joy, or clients I received from Serious Joy that watched, the Summer of Love and book sessions, and they were like exactly, what they were experiencing. And so we got to, of course, elaborate in session personally. So, I think the most fun of that was having clients come back and saying like, yeah, it was like great spot on reads, and it actually inspired them to want to like learn more. So it's always a blessing to help assist in that way,
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, and when it comes to long-term relationships, I'm like a lesbian. I pull up on the first date of the U-Haul. I move them in like right away. I'm like, oh shit. They don't have a job.
It takes me 2 years to say we're even dating. It takes 2 years for that. I'm like,
get out.
Yeah.
We're completely opposites. Mentally and
right. That's so opposite. Yeah.
So this time we're going to do some different horoscopes. Whereas normally I would do sort of like a New Year's thing. I really think we get more value with Mars retrograde. Let me just tell you. So again, Scott always comes to the table, folks, knowing very little about this stuff because he hates to study. No, I'm just kidding. He prefers not to know. His psychic awareness wants to like pick up on it fresh. So he hasn't really been prepped on this at all.
I don't even know when Mars retrograde is. So
Mars retrograde is from December 6th to I think February 25th or 24th.
Okay.
I always get that. My dad's birthday is right around there. So I'm like, there's a little bit of a twitch whenever I try to get that last end date. But what it means is it starts in Leo and then it goes back into Cancer. Now, a Mars retrograde means that you lose your male testosterone energy. You just kind of feel like you're in front of the fridge, you don't know what you want to eat for 6
Slept
weeks.
over.
For
Yeah,
6
okay.
weeks, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so, technically, this is one of the reasons why I thought the election wouldn't be, determined, was because the Mars retrograde. I thought, oh, everyone's gonna be
Right.
sitting around waiting for something to happen, because you really don't feel like you can go forward with Mars retrograde. You don't feel how to
Right.
go forward.
Okay.
So, most of the time, I have such an agenda that I take advantage of a Mars retrograde. I just like a moving sidewalk in an airport. I just fly
Yeah.
by people.
Yeah, like the thing you just walk and watch people fly
It's like,
by. And,
it's just seniors going by. I'm just like, Bionic Man. Do, 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 do. So, but for a lot of people, it means there's going to be a lot of questioning. Probably people who are disappointed with the election in particular. And so I thought it would be helping our viewers to kind of talk about what this may be.
Yeah.
You, your psychic read, me, the astrological read. Now, Mars then goes into Cancer, where it ends at step 17 Cancer, where it goes direct, which means that this is a 2-part retrograde. The first part is, do you really love yourself? If so, how? Where? What are you doing for yourself? What have you done for yourself lately? Then Mars goes into Cancer, and it's like, well, if you love yourself, you're going to have to take care of yourself in this new way, or it ain't going to happen.
Right.
So it's a 2-parter. So
it's a double
first,
whammy.
Totally. Really having you to get to the core of, do you love yourself? And again, you can't love yourself unless you're emotionally well cared for. I can't say it enough. So a baby doesn't want to play if it's colicky, or it's got a shitty diaper, or it hasn't eaten, or it hasn't had its nap.
Sounds like
Same
me.
is for humans. I know, that's you on a good day.
Sounds
So
like me.
yeah, that's you on the set. That's you at home. Good luck, Eric. Just
Change
the
my
attachment
diaper.
animal
Feed me.
there. Let me out. We're live on the Eric cam. Let me out.
How's your relationship with Scott working? Testimonial. Help.
Totally, yeah. He's like locked in a tower up in
It
Northern California.
depends. Yeah.
So this is a 2-parter in the sense for all 12 signs, where they must love themselves. And then secondly, how they must care for themselves in a higher way to achieve that self-love. All right.
That's interesting, because before I was thinking like I should probably do like a duality for the signs, like the duality. So it's funny you're saying the 2 parts. So first part is what? How to
Love yourself better.
love yourself better, and the second part is
Care for yourself better so that you can love yourself better.
oh, that's a twisty. Okay, I got it. Sure.
Well, first comes care, then comes
Then
love,
comes
then
love,
comes
then
lifestyle.
comes-
Yeah.
That's
That's Cancer, Leo, Virgo. So Cancer is care for yourself.
Gotcha.
Then you can love Leo. Then you
Love
can have the
the-
life Virgo. Then you can have the marriage
Virgo.
Libra. Then you can
Gotcha.
have the sex Scorpio. It just keeps going
Gotcha.
on. All from that.
Gotcha.
Care yourself, Cancer in the 4th. Cancer. Caring.
Gotcha. Perfect. Yeah. This is we'll bang this now.
Totally. So let's start with the Aries. Our Aries are changing, transforming. I think the truth of the matter is, when it comes to loving themselves, I think Aries have made themselves chase after things for their ego, to prove, to
Right.
macho, to be in control, to be the first, the best, the biggest, the largest,
got
the
it.
loudest, the richest, just all the ests, the superlatives.
Right.
And so I think this is the first time where Aries are going to start to give themselves what they need, not what they want. I think that's what it
Right.
comes down to. What you need. You
Right.
need a new pair of shoes.
Right.
You need a break.
A
You
new
need
hairdo.
a people partner that will tell you no.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what you need. So Mars and Leo, I think, will be a lot of soul searching for Aries. Like, I don't know what I want. I don't know where I should go. I don't know what is happiness. So I think there'll be some droopiness for the Aries.
Mm-hmm.
Then when Mars goes into Cancer, it's like, okay, well, are you going to bed on time? Do you have any money in the bank? Is there a rainy day? Are you always living by the seat of your pants? Are you getting,
Right.
the nutrition you need? Are you getting
Right.
the time off you need? So if you don't, you're not going to get what your heart wants. So I think
Right.
because Aries are the first in the zodiac, they do everything first, and they do it unfiltered. So they are the epitome of what this Mars retrograde is that self-love, and can only come from emotional security. Emotional security can only come from continued and constant care. So what do you add to that from a psychic perspective?
Well, first thing, I think that they first are going to have to look at their attitude, right? And so I think a lot of their attitude is they might start developing a defeatist energy at first. Oh, woe was me. This is happening to me. I got into that bumper fender, but what do you call it? Fender bender. And so they might be some things that kind of suck the coolness out of them, I feel like at first. But I think that's for them to understand like their placement and get out of the arrogant attitude and more into like I'm kind of be more assertive with what's around me, more aware. There's a lot of the A words coming. Be more aware of their surroundings. And so I think when they're putting the care into their surroundings first, or the attention and attitude into their own attitude, what's around them, then they could put care into their environment, right? Put care into their circumstances and realize, I'm probably not living in the space I want to live in. I'm probably not living in the home I want to be living in. It's really time to start pushing myself into encouraging a better environment for myself. So first is about the attitude, understanding what's around, and second is actually creating that better environment for themselves. So if they might be looking to move, they might move around that time, Aries, or if they're looking to maybe change a location or redo a home, they might even do that, at that time of care. So
That's actually brilliant because, first of all, the attitude you could say is Jupiter and Gemini. So Jupiter's working on them big time. But that third decan of the fourth house is home.
Interesting.
So the idea that they move to a new home or that they, transform where they live or their environment is, I think, A+. It goes right along with the astrology. Good job, brother.
All right. That's cool.
Okay.
I'm like, it's like a game for me. It's like a game show for me.
That's 1 for Scott, 0 for Christopher.
Yeah.
All right. So Taurus. The astrology says for Taurus that self-love comes down to emotional self-nurturing. I talked about this in the horoscope. Tauruses want someone else to blow their nose, someone else to do their laundry, someone else. And those are all extensions of not emotionally just giving yourself the pat on the back or the reassurance or the caring response to yourself. I'm already seeing this to some degree with myself in the sense of going to bed early. I used to push to work harder. Now I go to bed early, start smarter. So it's little things like that that make me feel better. And of course, I'm a Taurus, so I'll just step in here. Then when Mars goes into Cancer, it's all about attitude. And I can say, God, Tauruses, if you got in our head, yes, we're hard workers, but inside we're like, oh God, now I've got to take out the laundry. We turn into we get emotionally just so like, like we just buy into this attitude in our mind that sort of defeats us, makes it twice as heavy. And it's an emotional attitude that's ultimately our feelings are littering our attitude, with karma and stuff like that. So we have got to focus on nurturing ourselves directly, get our mind out of the nurturing business and instead get it into the passionate business. That emotional attitude should be passion for your work, passion for milk, passion for steak, passion for all sorts of beef tip. Right? So that's Taurus, I think. Self-nurturing and the right attitude. What do you pick up for us, Bulls?
Yeah, well, for the Aries, I feel like, to me,
Taurus.
with Taurus, but I'm saying, but when it's retrograde Aries and Cancer.
Yeah, okay.
Leo, then Cancer, right?
Mars and Leo, then Mars and Cancer.
Cancer, right. So I misunderstood that. Okay. So Mars and Leo. For me, what I'm sensing, like psychically with Taurus specifically, I hate to say this. This is not personal.
Oh, shit.
But they're going to have a stroke of delusion. Right. And when I say delusion, I mean not things can be in front of you, but you're not seeing it. And just that delusion to me is more about kind of like, and this is really not you. This is detached from you. Is that I see the hustle and bustle too much. Older behaviors starting to resurface in Leo with Taurus, unconsciously. So say if there's a Taurus that struggled with weight, they're probably going to gain the weight back. Because they're looking at everything else, they're hustling, bustling, and not confronting old patterns start resurfacing because I think they're not finding when we're going to Cancer, they're not finding self-appreciation enough. And so I think that, it's one thing to want people to help you around, right, with Taurus. And I think that's one thing of it being kind of like resistant to the help around and receiving that help. Even though you might say you want it, you resist it. I think that it would come to the time that they need to understand and learn that part of self-care is actually changing the attitude, like you said, into letting others do things for you. Right. And letting other people help you. That is also self-care. Not like, oh, I'm doing all that I have to do and I'm hustling, bustling, but I actually need that person to come and take care of that for me. I need to get sick so I understand people are there to uplift me. That was you last week.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think that for Taurus, I mean, it is going to be a little humbling in a sense. So I agree with you on the attitude sentiment, but it really is about the attitude saying, allowing people to show up for you instead of you having to run around and do everything yourself. So I think that's going to be a great breakthrough emotionally for Taurus.
I'm doing that, and we are hiring big time. All right. That said, Gemini. Gemini with Mars and Leo. Leo is their thought process. So Geminis love to think. Leo's what you love. So Geminis love to think. But Geminis have very self-defeating, unloving thoughts where they beat themselves up. The evil twin comes out, starts talking like their mother to them, talking like their father to them. That just, I think, shift talks them in the background and basically is echoing whatever their self-love issues are in their mind. So they talk too much to themselves negatively. However, Mars in Cancer then, from Leo to Cancer, is that they have to build up their self-worth on their own terms. They cannot base self-worth on what other people are saying. For you, Gemini, self-worth comes down to how you feel. So if you wake up to, 1,000 thread count sheets and you have slippers put on by a butler and you walk through with a cup of coffee through your garden naked, you're going to feel like $1 million and you're going to manifest $1 million. It's all about how you manage your feelings and how you respond to your feelings, which then again pollutes your thoughts. So feelings will corrupt thoughts. Feelings will also corrupt your self-worth. And basically, if Geminis are having a hard time manifesting money, this is why. Because you feel poor too long and then you beat yourself up afterwards. So this is an opportunity to erase that lack thinking and also that negative thinking and negative self-talk. What do you pick up on, Scott?
I feel it too. When Mercury's in Leo for Geminis, I just got this sense of clumsiness.
Oh yeah.
They're banging some. They're dropping the vase on the floor. They're doing like, oh, I didn't mean to do. They're making mistakes, right? I really feel like there is similar to Aries. Is that I feel like they need a suck of confidence out of them to build it up, so they become more aware of self, more self-awareness. That's where the Cancer comes of putting more care into self-awareness, because when they recognize, hey, you know what, like I'm pretty good. Like I'm starting to recognize like the shit I am. That's good. So it builds up the confidence in a sense, because sometimes a little sucking out of confidence helps people. I think with Gemini to say, well, I won't be defeated by this, so I'm going to tackle that, and so I'll spin it around and recognize, I am good. I do deserve that the abundance, financial abundance. I do deserve that love. I do deserve these things that I've been working for so long. I'm a shit. So I do feel like that Mercury in Cancer is going to bring that confidence and and that kind of boss bitch energy for the females, and so yeah. But I think that it will start though with like a kind of like that sucking of confidence and clumsy energy, because it's saying to you, and when you see it happening, Geminis, understand the clumsy energy is telling you to be more aware of your surroundings, be more in tune to what you're doing.
Interesting insight. Yeah. And they're about to have a career boost if they do their homework. So that's
100%. Yeah. When they get that confidence, like I was saying, and they find out the things that they were working toward, they deserve it. Oh, it would totally manifest.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cancers. Now, Cancers are directly affected because it will enter their sign. Mars in Leo, however, has to do for them with self-worth. So Cancers tend to base their self-worth on how valuable and useful they are to other people. And so I think the big shift here is you've got to create your own soul capital. You got to give yourself credit. You've got to be happy with just your own credit. Your credit has to be a currency that has some sort of weight. It can't just be dismissed by your mind or immediately erased by your own internal banking system. And that, you have two options. You can go chase after love, or you can love yourself and build yourself up. Those are the two options.
Yeah.
Now, here's the issue, Cancer. You've got some ego issues, okay? I know because you care for others, you don't think you have an ego. Just kidding. But the truth of the matter is, you do. In fact, the fact that you insist to be the one to care is the ego. You know what I mean? So the thing is that ego is not based on your desires. That ego has not been based on what your heart wants to be, who you want to be. It's been based on all sorts of complicated long-term relationships where you're scratching their back, waiting to be scratched back. And so that ego has got to drop the ball. It has got to give up. It's got to give up. Because unless you are happy and you are just loving life right now, you're not doing it right. You're not playing the game right. Because you are investing in the wrong emotions. Your ego is investing in negative emotions or trying to put out negative emotions instead of directly investing in positive expressions of who you are and really enjoying your talent and really enjoying how fabulous you are. You're amazing. The world's a freaking mess. No one's good at caring like you are. But choose the care you want to do, not the one that you've been told you're good at. So that's my Cancer diatribe.
It's interesting because when Mercury hits Leo for Cancers, I feel this overcompensating sense of confidence and ego coming out, right? To where they start to maybe demanding too much of those that they love, and then kind of potentially burning bridges. And I'm sensing that with Cancer, and then I think once Cancer hits Cancer, I think the remorse, the regret of the bridges that they burnt. That's a complete different story. But the bridges that they burned actually become into remorse and regret because they have to learn, like you were saying similarly, the difference between being cared for and caring for the self and when to demand it and when to not demand it. So I think they're going to really find it in Cancer that sense of balance of really how to nurture, but to be nurtured, but also not being so demanding where you cut people off and burn your bridges. So I feel like that might occur in Leo. Some might burn a bridge or cut off a relationship or, maybe interfere with a relationship that they care about that is not beneficial for them to let go of. And so the remorse and regret will help them to understand their boundaries about confidence and not being too arrogant when they start looking at the self.
Yeah, I think Cancers have got to burn the relationships because they won't let go. They're addicted. And I think in some cases the bridges have to burn. I also think, I just can't see. I'm close to a lot of Cancers. I'm just not seeing them getting it, with this particular one. And so I think they're going to have to. Unfortunately, I think to some degree they're burning it because they don't have the strength to keep from crossing it.
Well, that's true, and I have to say because I just let go of a 10-year friendship with a Cancer, and I was trying to keep them out of my mind as far as reading the collective on it, and there was a lot of taking advantage and demanding of things where I'm like, but you haven't showed up, you've been demanding, and I've been there, you haven't showed up, and so I just set my boundaries. But I do feel like the course is a similar connection with other Cancers too, of understanding that you've taken advantage of things that actually have been there for you. For quite some time. So there has to be that kind of pull to them to understand their balance between that self-confidence and also the line of where that can push people away.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, is there's a lot of unspoken desire from a Cancer. Like they'll scratch your back and you don't even realize they're like, and he's going to do this and she's going to do that. And it's like, and then they're like, you didn't do this. And you're like, wait, you asked me to do this? There's, like this sudden unspoken expectation. It's kind of romantic and old school. But I'm not beating up on Cancers. I think Cancers are a huge part of the future.
Oh,
They've got
totally.
a huge role to play in the world, and they just got to get off that wagon.
Yeah, it's just this period. Yeah, it's just this period we're talking about. So like P Bonecutter, which I love. How you doing? Good to see you here. She says she's Cancer and she has a hard time burning bridges. Like, yeah, it's not that Cancers burn bridges. This time in Leo Mercury, that might happen unintentionally, or a relationship that might need to remove from you is what we're saying. So it's not your skill set of burning bridges. It's just this period we're talking about. So yeah.
And it won't be deliberate. You'll knock over the can of fire and it'll burn down Chicago. It'll be an accident.
Right. It'd just be like, but needed, but also very needed in the end because it'll help you to establish more of your confidence. So with PB Pokecutter, I think that she's got a lot of people she's caring for that she needs maybe one of those situations to not be there to help her to find her balance with her own confidence. So that's what I feel about her.
Okay. We went long for you, Cancer. See how much we care?
See? Yeah.
Leos. The Leos. Now, Leos, of course, kind of similar to Cancers because Mars is in their sign, so they're going to be heavily affected by this. Leos are learning how to stroke themselves, kind of, and I don't mean like in front of others. I mean, like, I'm talking about like, hi, everybody. Oh, I just bombed on stage. Okay, now.
That just dripped water on me as you said that.
Yeah, now you love yourself. Now you tell yourself you're amazing. Now you look in the mirror and say, I've got this. It's the way you respond to yourself in the background. It's also divorcing yourself from the codependence of attention and putting attention on yourself instead of demanding attention from the world. It's a new era of Leos. We're not talking about Leos that we see really often right now. And so it is really the king with diplomacy or the queen with diplomacy versus the young Louis XVI picking out on turkey bones, right?
Interesting,
Now, Mars going into Cancer does mean that there will have to be a change of faith. That Leos have faith in the universe for different reasons, different feelings. You don't have a feeling you're going to make it because you see everyone excited about you. You have a feeling you're going to make it because you and God say you're going to make it. So it's shifting from outer to inner, I think, where they are now, they always say, if you watch like The Queen or whatever on Netflix, another one, they say that royalty feels like they were chosen by God. That's why they're royalty. But the problem is they were chosen by God, but then they didn't do God's work.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they ran off and bought Rolls Royces and
Right.
shit.
Yeah.
So I think part of this also is that it's time to do God's work. You got the BMW, you got the Mercedes, you got all of it. What have you done for God lately? I think is part of it also. So returning to the real kingdom of heaven or queendom of heaven, higher self God. What do you pick up?
Yeah, it's interesting. I believe that with when it's Cancer, but when it's in Leo, I feel that I heard intimacy, like learning what intimacy is like, not just when it comes to romantic intimacy, but intimacy like learning how to be alone, learning how to be in more intimate environments and circumstances. I feel like is really necessary when Mercury hits Leo and for Leos. I think that when they're embracing that, and I was going to say similar, you were saying as far as when Mercury hits Cancer, then they'll feel the divine purpose and divine calling. Then they'll
Yeah.
feel like, I spend so much time myself. I understand. I don't need all these extremities because I've been in this intimate state. Like I can hear my calling. I can see what I've been missing all along. I've been too conditional. I've been too wondering about how to check the box and how to get this going. And the fact that I haven't allowed myself to be in this stage of clarity. And 'cause a lot of people think when they're not doing things that's somehow like there's emptiness. I'm like, that's clarity, but that's
Yeah.
giving the impulse of like, this is my divine purpose. Oh, I understand. I've been kind of putting too many parameters on what I should or shouldn't be doing. That, yeah, I agree with you in that sense of being very in tune to the purpose, the divine purpose for them.
Yeah, Saturn in Pisces would say the intimacy thing. I always say intimacy is into me, I see. When I see myself, I am connected to others.
What is this, Barney?
There's some more here.
You love. It's like a Barney like thing.
Do not do a mock commercial of me or I will kill you. Um, intimacy is into me, I see. I can see your next commercial. Yeah, I see what you're doing.
You suffer from intimacy issues, and I'll have that recording of you.
Intimacy. Well, it is. I mean, the more you know, I mean, I know this actually, this is true.
It is. It totally is true.
The more I learn myself, the more I see it in others.
Oh,
you know?
totally.
And so I think that's what the direction that you're picking up with Leo is like really going to know yourself, and you'll find yourself so much closer, more empathetic, more connected to others than you have ever been before, because you are now so connected and empathetic to yourself. So,
well, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I wouldn't say this is not repetitive with Leos, but just a little bit of humbling.
There's always humbling with Leos. That's like the rest of their life. You know what I mean? There's no question about it. But it's all good. It's fun to watch. Okay. Virgos. Virgos, the astrology says that, first of all, Mars in Leo has to do with your faith versus fear. So Virgos, they go, I'm fearless. I'm going to go, are you worried about something? Oh my God, I'm worried about so much. That's fear. Worry is a child of fear. It comes down to love or fear. So Virgos live in the fear. They will live in the worry. They live in the concern. Like, let me double check. Let me triple check. Don't you have a Virgo rising? You do. So energetically, I think that they are learning now to, in small ways, just go, fuck it, and put it all on black. I'm just going to bet on myself. Let's just see if God does it, takes me down. Like, it may take that sort of a leap at first to just go, I'm just not going to care or worry anymore. I'm going to love who I am. Now, with Mars going in at Cancer, it's actually an identity crisis, because if you're going to not fear anything, oh my God, what are you going to do? You're out of a job.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do anymore. So I think they've been all like, let me massage your back. Let me help you. All of that stuff where they were trying to help you was based on worry. It wasn't based on self-love.
Right.
And so I think we're going to see some of the biggest changes for Virgos and Virgo risings that we see for all 12 signs, because once they take away that fear button, I don't know if they're going to be maids. We might actually have a huge maid crisis, just like we have a waiting table crisis. Like, there'll be no one to clean your house anymore or vacuum after this transit. So y'all better lock in a long-term deal. I also think it changes their relationship to society in the sense of, no, we tried healing you bitches. We're done. I think you're going to see a lot of, sort of like you saw the nurses all leaving after COVID.
Right.
I think a lot of Virgos will be like, drop the mic. I'm out of this thing. I'm not doing it anymore. You clean up this fucking mess, So I think that we're going to see a lot of, just watch your Virgos, expect notice. What do you pick up?
Well, as far as when Mercury's in Leo for Virgos, I just feel like they're not going to be getting through to people, right? So communication might be an issue, or they're not being heard. What they're saying is not resonating to people. Where they're trying to fix ain't being fixed, right? So they're going to feel a lot of opposition at this time. I think that is a prep for what you were saying too. I agree with it when going to Cancer, that they're going to have to figure out, well, who am I if nobody needs my help? Who am I if no one's listening to me? You know what I'm saying? So, and it's like, that's going to force them into like really kind of being more self-dedicated and just saying, well, this is what I need for myself then. And so, like you said, like they're not going to have anyone to clean for anymore, but that's because no one's listening to them anymore. So Virgos, listen up. If no one's listening to you, if what you're trying to do is not working for people or it's backfiring, that's a time for you to step up and say, I need to redirect and start being more solo focused. And I think by the time, Mercury enters Cancer, that should be clear. And I think those who are not conscious of that work, they'll start feeling impulses to do something out of the box, something like an impulse to do something spontaneous. Like, I'm going to take that freaking trip, or I'm going to spend that money on that Rolex, so they might find ways to just do something very, out of the box. But at the same time, they have to be reeled in and make sure it isn't so far left out field in that way. They can still be honing it into what they really need to do for themselves to be more solo focused.
Yeah, totally. And, I'll say Virgos are up for their life purpose here any second now. So I think this is the last codependent, whatever, latch that they still have on society. And so I think you're right. They're going to be free to do whatever the heck they want. And, because they're so anal and they're so detailed and they're so aware, they invent shit we've never thought of because they have so many details and ideas. They can be brilliant innovators. It's also time for them to live the new life. Like, they have Aquarius in the 6th house. So they're actually supposed to pioneer the high vibe life. They're the pioneers of it.
Well, that's good to me, knowing them Aquarius with the Virgo rising. That's an interesting combination for that time.
Definitely. And you got a long way to go, brother.
Oh,
Kidding. Libras.
Yeah, a long way to go to fall down, you mean, right?
To climb up, brother, to climb up.
A long way to fall, honey. Yeah.
We'll do this one again. Libras. So we can cut it. Libras, Leo for you is how good of a friend you are to yourself in society. You're a shitty friend to yourself. You will be out there in the world, it'll be blazing hot, and you'll tell yourself, oh, I've got to go help this person. Oh, I've got to stop for this. Oh, I've got to sacrifice that. You're not a very good friend to yourself. You throw yourself under the bus, you become the sacrificial lamb, you don't love yourself when you're out there in public. We're talking about when you're in public. We're not talking about when you're at home, beating up your husband. Just kidding. We're talking about when you're in public. You are hard on yourself. You're not your friend. You don't really set yourself up to succeed. And so you're not loving with what you where you put yourself in society is not loving. So Mars going into Cancer then is like, well, okay, well then what am I going to be when I grow up? So I think that for Libras, this is a career legacy crisis where they're like, oh my gosh, if I'm not going to be, scratching backs for a living, what am I going to do? Like, and I do think this isn't all Libras, but most Libras I know are giving too much away somewhere. I haven't found one that's not and it's to compensate where you're not giving to yourself, so I think that whole paradigm is over. We're out of the hero business. We're out of the savior business. We're out of the true love, save my life. Right. All that is old school. None of that is going to happen. It's time for you to reinvent yourself and reinvent yourself for the whole world. Show us what a Libra in the age of Aquarius is really like, because I have no idea. I can't remember. But it sure as shit was not like, let me sacrifice myself for my man. It wasn't. I have a feeling it was really that justice, that amazing kind of justice, Statue of Liberty. Like, I think that's the majesty of Libra. So I think Libras are finding their majesty.
Yeah, and to kind of like add to that, right? Because we definitely don't want to be repeating things, right? We want to add to it. So I was seeing like with Mercury and Leo for
Mars.
Mars.
Yeah. You just want it to be Mercury, but it's a big old Mars.
Mars and Leo. My astrology is horrible, but during that time, the retrograde, I really feel that with Aries. No, we're on Libra.
With the Libras.
I had a brain fart. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. So Libra and Leo. What I was like really feeling for them is I saw people being overly generous to them, but them not picking up on it. Right. So people doing for them, but not really picking up on that. And I think that they might offend a few people, and not feel it safe to say thank you or to someone giving a good gesture. They might just like, not really appreciate the lover that they have or friendship that they have. They might have conflict with in Leo and retrograde because or retrograde in Leo, because I think that's going to help them to identify that they've been so, interested in kind of calling the shots and the one kind of like maneuvering, dictating everything, that, they might start realizing, I didn't realize they were being kind. And so, okay, well, I'm feeling appreciated. And so in that sense of allowing themselves to feel appreciated and being humbled by this, then they'll feel their majestic energy. It's like, oh, people actually do really care about me, and I'm not appreciating it. Or people have been doing really nice things for me. I've been like resisting this. So I am pretty good. I don't have to try so hard, So I really feel that's where they feel that majestic energy, is that they start really appreciating those who've really been around them, actually. And when it gets into Cancer,
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I actually think that Libras are the least appreciated of all the zodiac. I think they've been set up that way by their past lives and whatnot. I feel like they draw in relationships that don't appreciate them.
Right.
But I always have, personally. I know I do give Libras a lot of shit, but I actually, the world would be a messy place without the Libras.
Right.
But the problem is that I think you're giving it to a lot of assholes.
Yeah.
And there are people who genuinely appreciate you, that would appreciate your time and energy.
Right. And so, when they notice they've been so focused on the assholes that they have missed out on people that really been appreciating them. They might get offended though that time, and it might be a nice wake up call to realize, I'm going to take the appreciation this time around. I am a good value, that I'm going to open up more to appreciation, on both the giving and the receiving sides.
The other thing I'll throw in with Libra is you're doing more important work than you realize, because you rule relationships. So once all of you relate differently, the rest of us get pulled on that bus with you. You're the ruler of relationships.
Right.
I'm a Taurus. I rule money and manifestation. The changes I make sets the bar on how far we can manifest. The changes you make sets the bar on intimacy. So you hold the power to end narcissism on the earth. You hold the power. You hold all the power and all the cards. I just wish you realized it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can unintentionally push people away, or have them run away. They either push people away or they run away themselves, because of that. So, yeah.
We could do a whole Libra special, but I think it's because they don't accept the love. Sometimes they give a hug to a Libra and they're like, thanks.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a distance, and it's just like, no, come here,
Yeah. They have the fear of being confronted with that intensity. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And they are intense.
Or they might deem that as intense energy, but it's not, it's not completely balanced the way they want it to be balanced. It might just that intense emotion, like, oh, I got to run away from this.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Because they're not focused on themselves. So it's overwhelming when they enter into that situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That was a Libra special.
Souffle.
Libra special. Yeah. Souffle.
Libra buffet.
Scorpios. Scorpios, when you make a decision and you commit, you're not nice to yourself. So Mars and Leo is, Scorpio's like, oh, I have to be the one to carry the dead body. I have to be the one to bury the body. I have to be the one, it's like, you said you had to, you sign yourself up for that. And then of course, when you're upset, you're like, I've got to do all this. And it's just like, wait a second. No one asked you to be the police officer. No one asked you to do that. You, out of your sense of integrity or whatever, forced yourself and made a slave out of yourself. You were not very loving when you chose to do that or forced yourself to do that. So I think Scorpios are changing their motives and what they decide and how they decide and what goes into a decision. And honestly, Scorpio should be me. Because most of you, there are bad Scorpios who are already me, okay? Usually born before Halloween, just say that. But those are rare. They give you a bad reputation, but that's not who the flock of you are. Most Scorpions won't fuck with you if you don't step on them, right? And so for the most part, being me is not going to end up becoming this, this dictator. You're not going to go too far with it. I think there's a fear you're going to go too far with it.
Right.
When Mars goes into Cancer, it's a life purpose, crisis. Because at that point, you're not sure, well, what's the meaning of life if I'm not sacrificing myself for the y'all? What's the meaning of life if I'm not this, the executioner? What's the meaning of life if I'm not the one to throw myself in front of a moving car to save the baby? And these are all things Scorpios do all the time in their own sense of heroism, of their old school way of identifying. So I think that Scorpios are ultimately up for a new career, but you're seeing the very beginnings of it right now with setting themselves up for shitty jobs.
Yeah, I'm going to Confirmed, yes. But when the retrograde is in Leo, I'm really feeling that they're gonna feel lost because they're just showing them kind of wandering and just not completing things and feel like they don't belong, and they're gonna have a burst of wanting to get out of their shell, but they don't know how to do that in a sense because they've been so privy to their routine, and so then I feel like their routine isn't working. So let me try something new, but it's not really working for them, and so they gonna feel scattered for a little bit. But I think that due to the frustration of feeling scattered with the retrograde in Leo, then when it enters Cancer, all of a sudden, that's why I agree with you in the career thing. They're gonna have a spoke of, I've been wanting to write that book. I just feel the urge. I'm gonna get that done, and a new career, a new job change. So I feel like anything new that we're wanting to start happens when in Cancer, retrograde in Cancer. So I think that in order to get them there, they're gonna have to feel like misplaced, like a misfit. Like I'm just now starting to like come out of my shell and like no one's around me. What the fuck? No one's answering my call right now. Like I'm here now. It's like, well, you've been in isolation for so long and no one wants to hear about it, right? So, so I think that when they learn how to really kind of then put that active energy, that rambunctious energy into whatever project they wanted to start. And if they didn't have a project, something will come to mind. I think that's where I do see like a new project, new career, right? New investment of hobby. So new expression manifests in Cancer for Scorpios.
You hear that, Diane? Send a voicemail. Blink.
That's right, Diane, Scorpio. That makes sense.
Sending her a voicemail. That's so funny. Oh, here we go. Blink. Sorry, I didn't get the call. Okay.
Take all the time you want, she says with my son.
Diane's our executive producer. She's a wonderful Scorpio. Okay. Sagittariuses. Sages, this has to do with believing in yourself. And I love it. I think Sages are the biggest hypocrites in the world about believing in themselves. They're very Willy Wonka, where they're just like, if you believe, like they'll just go on this like question about, you don't have to, you just put a little spirit into it. They're always like so optimistic, but it's just like, hey, here's a job, Sag, you've never done before. No. It's just like, well, wait a second. Right. I thought you believed in yourself. You told me to believe in my life. Like, what the? Right. What? You don't believe? Well, I don't have the credit or the ability or the resume or the this or the that. So they have fallen for the myth that you have to have experience. Mm-hmm. You don't. If it's in you and you can, you can. Right. Okay.
You have the expression, yeah. You have the experience, you have the expression, yeah.
Totally. So if you feel you can do it, you can. Mm-hmm. Okay. Be the first out there. Be daring. Look at, I think one of my favorite, Frank Sinatra's one of my favorite Sagittarius is because he's just so Frankie, so cool. But like, look what he did. He was in casinos. He was with the mob. Like he just walked the line. He believed in himself. He believed he wouldn't get killed, and he wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, so I think though that old school Sag is coming back, the Frankie Sinatra kind of Sag. But here's the thing: when Mars goes into Cancer, it means you have got to get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you don't like that. It's going to be a cold plunge. You're going to have to come out of your comfort zones. The truth of the matter is that you are like shiny like an M&M on the outside, but super like liquid malted chocolate on the inside. You're just like, you're very, really soft and emotional on the inside. I call it the mopey Sag. And so I think that you are regretting like, it's going to feel like crap to have to do this. And so I think you're kind of like not wanting to do it because it's going to be uncomfortable, unfamiliar, unsafe, vulnerable, on the edge, on the ledge. And so I think there's a lot of emotional stirring of like, I don't know, should I? Like when Mars is in Cancer, be like up to the ledge and walk back, up to the door and walk back. It's like until they feel safe enough. And that comes from boundaries. You feel safe by drawing the line. Well, you don't have to win an Oscar. Just show up on camera. There's certain boundaries that have to be in place for you to feel safe. And so if you're not feeling safe, poor boundary management is what I feel like the case is. But once a Sag believes in themselves, it is like a Willy Wonka song. It's like they are supercalifragilistic. They are, all these sort of happy Disney movies because Walt Disney was a Sag. Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, for me, when I'm sensing, when Leo's in retrograde, retrograde's in Leo, excuse me, I'm saying it wrong. One thing I kept hearing was like contradiction, right? And so I started feeling like Sagittarius most primarily during that time will start maybe feel like there's a lot of contradiction around them, and a lot of people kind of exposing their own contradictions in a sense, both in their relationships, jobs, and all that stuff. And so you might even start realizing that your pay is contradicting your talents actually too at that time. I'm doing a lot more, I'm getting paid a lot less. What's going on here? So a lot of these realizations will come about in retrograde ones in Leo. And that's where I feel like when it starts going into Cancer, I think that the sluggishness that I feel that you were talking about is like, oh my God, I invested so much time in this job and now I need to do something better for myself. Oh God, so I'm not making enough. So I think a lot of the conditional circumstances around will manifest with Sagittarius to start saying like, yeah, you actually cheated yourself this long. And so, yeah, it's going to be maybe a challenge to like redirect it. But once you are in tune with redirecting, like you said, they'll be on board. Like, let's get it done. They'll be very anxious and ambitious to get it done. So for me, when I'm looking at this, is to be open to understanding things that contradict you in your life. If you're wanting abundance, but you're receiving $20,000 less a year in pay that you should be, that's a contradiction to the abundance that you're wanting. So really, it's time at the time when Cancer comes to step up, step firm, and saying, I'm going to accomplish the things I've been saying I've been wanting, that I've been working for, and eliminate those contradictions, right, for yourself. Because I agree, once Sag is on it, they're on it. But the problem is when Sages aren't on it, they're a little lost and a little wandery, in their energy. And so, but I think the time in Cancer is going to be a wonderful time for Sagittarius to own it, to really own it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sagittarius will be like, I'm not contradictory, but when I'm in Rome,
right.
Like they write it off as like, if they're in that country or whatever, fine, they could go ahead and be beef eating, beef eating, exactly. Prostitute loving, like whatever. But they're like back in America, like, I'm a good boy. So
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, totally. All right, cool. Good Sag analysis there. Capricorns. Cappies. All right, so kind of like Cancers, Capricorns are, how do I put this? Wimps when it comes to trusting yourself. Okay? You have to love yourself to trust yourself. That's it. You have to love yourself to trust yourself. Love and trust are synonymous. Okay? That means, no, you don't have credit. You don't have a resume. You don't have a credit rating. You don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have all these things, but somehow in your heart, you will be different. That you can do something someone else can't do. So your ego has been allowing, I think, your mind to guilt you out of it. I think your ego has also been under attack for 15 years with Pluto. So Goddess, I know how hard it is. Gods, I know how hard it is. It's tough. It's almost over. But this is the last breaking point. You have got to trust yourself and what your heart tells you is okay. If your heart says it's okay, do it. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, Mars in Cancer says, therefore, every relationship you have may be corrupt. Because I don't mean corrupt, I just mean they weren't based on trusting yourself. I don't think Capricorn, I have to say, I love you guys. I've married you before, okay, many times. But you don't marry for love a lot of times, okay? Like you don't marry loving yourself for a lot of times. And so I think a lot of your relationships are all based on this needing someone to be your emotional codependent to fill in for where you're not acting on self-trust. So I think you're in a lot of emotionally codependent relationships where you're all professional at work and coming home and beating it up on your partner or expecting your partner to pay you. And I think that day is over. I think you have to find mutually nurturing relationships where you are nurturing them as much as they are nurturing you, and where you are not hanging on that relationship in order to feel like you can go hit it in the office tomorrow. You've got to have it on your own, alone. The cheese stands alone. I rest, Your Honor.
Cheese stands alone. The cheese stands alone. Yeah. So for me, the first part of this is I keep hearing like regrets twofold. Meaning, there might be regrets saying, should I have distanced myself from that relationship? Should I have ended that situation that I was in? And so there's a questioning of regret whether you should have done it, and then also regret of saying, I really haven't put that application into myself. I haven't put the application into what I know I should have done for myself. So similar to Sages in a sense, that kind of contradictory, but it's more about regrets. Like I feel like I don't know if I made the right decision, questioning yourself. And then I think that questioning of regret like pushes you in to this feeling of like really nailing it down, like really feel like you're in your essence actually. And so if it's, again, similar with, I don't know which time I was saying this, but if you're Scorpios, so it's similarity. If you're going to start a new project, you'll start a new project. If you're going to start getting to that business, and I feel a lot of like attention during this time, right? So whether you're getting attention solo for whatever solo work you're doing, or attention for a creation, or just recognition to say, hey, you did this. Look what you've done. You've accomplished this. So I think that's when in Cancer, you're going to get a lot more of that recognition, which will boost more of your confidence to continue going in that path. So when you start being like regretful and saying, maybe I shouldn't have done this decision, understand you should have, and don't regret the fact that you didn't do more for yourself. Start doing more for yourself. And so, yeah, I think that to me, spotlight will be on Capricorns during that time.
Well, it's their birthday coming up too, so they will be spotlighted.
That's right. Yeah. That's true. That's right.
So
My dad's
yeah, and I think you're so right about Capricorns like having regrets for quitting things too soon, or firing people too soon. So it's like, can I go to the bathroom? You're fired. You know, like, and then like 4 secretaries are like, that first one was not too bad. I guess bathrooms out of. They like are so quick to just like cut it all, and that's because they don't trust their heart. That their heart's saying it's gonna be good, it's gonna work out. They don't trust that. They don't trust their heart telling them. They're trusting the evidence, statistics, what HR told them, what their lawyer told them. They're not trusting what their heart's telling them. And so I think they're missing out on a lot of opportunity because they're judging it by the outer world.
Now, I do have to say, I have been noticing objectively that Cancers lately, their intuition is going through the roof.
Capricorns, you mean?
I mean, Capricorn. Sorry, yeah. Let me rephrase that for editing purposes. Now, I have been seeing that a lot of Capricorns been experiencing a lot more, I would say, intuition. Their intuition is going through the roof. I noticed that primarily with my dad, actually. All of a sudden, he's like, intuition's like, he says something, it's like, I'm like, how do you know that? He was right. And so I keep it like encouraging him to be in that state. And so I think that's very evident of like coming into their own, and then coming into their light in a sense. So even with my wonderful mod Nina, who's also in the room here, she's also been coming to her own light and that recognition finally after so many, years of being, kicking the back seat. So I've been noticing that with people around me.
That's Saturn in the third, and the reason why their intuition is skyrocketing is because they stop feeling guilty.
Right. Exactly.
They left things open. It's like, now that I'm not guilty, who's
right?
that?
And you're not stupid. You're not less than. You're not limited in your abilities. Yeah, because that's another thing I've been seeing consistently with Capricorns too.
Yeah, and they have to build the new economy with Pluto and Aquarius. So, yeah, pull your head out, love yourself, focus on what you love. If you want to be like the next, Steve Jobs, which I know all of you do, or the next, Estee Lauder, which I know all of you do, you've got to trust what your heart's telling you. You can't go by what the market's done. You're going to be boring and familiar.
Right. You see, you can't tell a Capricorn just love yourself because they're like going to process it. I say to them, put love into yourself. It means that you're choosing to put love into it because they won't understand like, oh, just love yourself. What does that mean? I don't know, But if you kind of say it logically to put love into it, I think they'll digest it a little better because then they realize, oh, that's an action. I can do this by putting love into something, Because I think sometimes there's a block with certain signs when you say to love themselves. They don't quite understand what that means when they hear that.
Like Capricorn's like a dog. They're like,
yeah, huh?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But I'm busting my ass and I'm loving it. It's like, nah.
Okay, and now for the worst one. Aquarius! Aquarius, where do we start? Everyone sit back. Go to the bathroom. It's going to take a while. Aquarius. Aquarius is the self-love thing. I think really what Aquariuses are learning is they have to love themselves in their relationship to themselves, which is their mirage. Loving themselves is giving you what you need, not necessarily what you want. Loving yourself is the way you respond to yourself. Loving yourself is calming yourself down instead of going on a tirade. Loving yourself is doing what's best for you, even though you're humanitarian. See, that's so jackass backwards for you. You're humanitarian, so this idea of doing what's best for you, I think, is really foreign. And so it's new. It's a new Aquarius. It's a new era. Mars going into Cancer then means, well, you didn't build a life for that. You built a life for being emotionally responsive and emotionally codependent to your environment, which is why you hide and ghost and go away forever. Yeah, I couldn't even reach you before the show. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So literally, your life is all based on, I think in most cases, avoiding emotion and avoiding bad feelings. And I think what has to change for Aquariuses is learning how to cope, nurture, work through these feelings, turn lemon into lemonade, and be the king or queen of your world because you are not emotionally touched by anything except an angel.
Okay, I love lemonade. It's interesting to read my own. I get more insight when I read my own sign too. Well, primarily, I feel like in Leo, I think that I feel like Aquarians need to be comfortable with attention, getting attention. And I'll just say for me specifically, just kind of like if people are wondering where I'm at in my social media
You
conquest.
sure seem comfortable.
No, actually, it's not. I'm really all about evolution right now. So I can say this in retrospect to other Aquarians. And so I feel like even speaking my mind, even if it's not received well, or really kind of speaking up for myself, like you said about the individual, I think Aquarians are trying to learn this to say, you know, I'm saying now something about how I feel based on my expression, not so much about speaking for others anymore right now. So we're learning that, right? But I think that we've deprived a lot of, you know, other signs from them knowing what we're feeling because we just kept to ourselves and it's like, oh, we'll just give advice instead of people understanding our point of view to learn more about us. So I think this is going to be a very vulnerable period for, you know, for Aquarius's, you know, when retrogrades in Leo, because you're going to be getting attention. And it might be not good attention either, but that's going to really kind of launch you into understanding that no matter what you're doing, if it's coming from a place of truth and sincerity, it's going to bring a lot of change for people moving forward. And that's the point. That people do want to learn about Aquarius. People do want Aquarius to get a little bit of attention and to be more transparent, actually, you know, and to show up and be kind of transparent in that way for people. Now, I've always been that way in my own personal life. It's very uncomfortable doing it online. You know, this whole year to social media for the past year, it's been very uncomfortable. And when I'm in channel mode, I'm surprised what just fucking came out, you know, as far as what flows out. And so I think a lot of Aquarians are going to come to terms with that balance of understanding what it is to be in the spotlight and to make a difference. So it's going to start with uncomfortability. And again, people are going to be a lot in opposition, but there's also a lot at the end of the tunnel for that too, as far as embracing that and putting yourself in the forefront for a change.
Yeah, totally. I think with Pluto moving into your sign for the next 24 years. Just kidding.
Yeah, baby.
I do think that it means that there's death of an ego there too. Like you've built, I think honestly, I mean, we can't go into the whole depths of it. The long story short, Aquarius energy has not been cool since ancient Egypt. After ancient Egypt, we started killing you bastards.
Seriously,
and hanging you for witchcraft and calling you wizards. And, you know, Catholicism just started going after you. You all became extremely defensive. You became ghost-like. You withdrew. You're coming out of like a 2,000-year PTSD of being, you know, the weird ones, the freaks, you know, the freak in the sheets, the freak everywhere.
Right,
and so I think a lot of this is, just kidding. A lot of this is the disarming of your knee-jerk reactions that are based not on the present, but based on what you have endured over the centuries. So I think there's a lot of disarming that has to happen for the Aquariuses.
Right. It's interesting because we get so, I would say, misrepresented, like, because when we do something, we own it. So then people think we want attention. It's like, no, I get uncomfortable with attention. But if I'm doing something that I love, I'm not thinking about that. I'm just being honest, right? So a lot of people think, oh, you love attention. I'm like, no, I'm an introvert. I'm very domesticated, but I'm not speaking. I'm like lounging around, chilling around. So yeah, I think that might also be a misconception about some Aquarians too, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Aquarians don't want attention. I mean, first of all, yes, you do. You're lying. Every human being wants attention. You're not in it for the attention.
Yeah, right. The attention is more the fact of validation of, like, say, if I'm doing work, the attention is I want people to enjoy it or know that it's being effective for them, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the attention I think we look for in that sense, to make sure what we're doing is effective. Yeah, but like the tension of like having no, I don't like it. I get uncomfortable.
You'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. I think that's part of Mars and Cancer. It's that you emotionally are too sensitive. It's not that you can't handle the attention. It's that you can't handle the feelings.
Maybe, I don't know, psychoanalyzing here, but yeah, I've been in front of the camera since I was a kid, right, and performing on stage. Like, it's just, I think when I start recognizing its attention, I'm like, it takes experience away for me, right? Because like when I'm performing, it's like I'm in the song or in the performance, or if I'm reading, I'm in the read, you know. And so I think that, you know, yeah, that's one thing we have to understand, that maybe we do need to understand what it's like to be revered, you know, and that's, I think that's, the Aquarians are going to have to learn that and take the trophies and, you know, the compliments.
What it's like to feel revered.
I feel everything, okay?
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying. You don't want to. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
When it's not about, yeah, I think we're just humble to a fault, I would say, and I think that we just learn to have to be a little, receive the pats on the back. Because even when you compliment me, I'm like, oh yeah, or I think like you're just kind of blowing smoke up my ass. You know, I don't really take it. I'm just like, yeah, you know.
And I am. blowing smoke
Thank
up
you.
your ass.
Well,
Yeah,
you don't
I
have
mean,
to. 'Cause I'm blowing too much smoke out of my ass. I don't need going back up there.
some Aquariuses are not
Yeah.
humble. Some Aquas are not humble to a fault. Our director Adam, for instance,
Oh, come on. He's so humble.
he's wonderful. I'm just fucking with him. You deserve that, Adam. Just funny.
And
Oh
what
no,
about
he's
Iggy?
amazing.
Our wonderful follower, Iggy. You know Iggy?
Oh, I know Iggy. He's all over this chat right now. He's dominating
Yeah.
it. He's dominating right now and not wanting any attention. Clearly.
No, he just likes to make people laugh. Not just, again, like
he's-
when we have a mission, we just like, we're set on a mission.
Look at him flying there. There's Iggy right there. Cool. All right, enough with you, Aquas.
Yes. See
Jesus.
so much attention over there.
I just call you Yeshua Aqua. Okay.
Yeah, I love Yeshua.
I love Yeshua too. And that brings us to Pisces. Pisces with Mars and Leo. This has to do with how you treat your body. So I think Pisces have had very disposable. The problem is the way you live in the moment is shit. Okay. And I just had to say that. I mean, yes, I got daddy issues. My dad was a Pisces, but it's beyond that. You're not living in your heart. You're living in guilt. You're living in worry. You're living in the past. You're living in the bottle. You're living with the cocaine. You're living with the horror. You're living with this. You're never just living in your heart in the moment. Okay.
True.
And so this is about just live in your heart in the moment. Butterflies will land on your finger. Squirrels will walk up next to your leg. It's time to do the whole Christ consciousness thing. It's time to follow Jesus. You're next on stage. Go. But the only way you can do it is if you love yourself in the moment. You have to be in your heart in the moment. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else to say. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
It's not easily done. I mean, I can't do it. Right now I'm feeling hatred, for instance. Just kidding. But the point is that your heart, to live in your heart is actually the whole journey of ascension. So you could say that it's now time to walk the stairs of ascension, to climb the stairway to heaven. That doesn't mean eat a Whataburger and die of a heart attack. That means
Right.
it's every day life is better and better and better and better. And that you are just loving life and loving the moment and loving being you more than you ever have.
Right.
So when Mars goes back into Cancer, the astrology says, well, now you're going to realize that you want something else from life. Because once you're living in your heart, you're like, wait a second. Why am I dealing with this job, this person, this relationship? Oh my God, now that I'm living in my heart, anything's possible. I think when you're going to a musical act, you're just going to break in a song in your office and you're just going to, end up doing this whole chorus line and realize that, singular sensation. I don't know why I had this in my head, but it is that moment where you're just going to be like the frog on the WB. I think your heart is just, we're going to see Pisces like we've never seen them before. We have never seen them this way, ever. Okay. I even think, after the age of Aquarius was, the fall of Atlantis. So age of, the next age after that was shit. You know what I mean? Like, age of Capricorn, right? Yeah. So you really haven't thrived in a long time because from what I understand, civilization rose in the last age of Aquarius. So there has not been an age of Pisces with humans on it till this last one. So you have not really been able to shine like you're meant to. So it's about a different emotional choices about what you invest your heart into and what you want to do, with your personal dreams versus what you feel you have to do or you feel guilty for or the penance you're paying. Saturn direct on Friday says that's all over. You're ready now. It's time. We can't have the age of Aquarius until we graduate the age of Pisces. We can't graduate the age of Pisces unless you all get off your ass, love yourself in the moment, and go for your personal dreams.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
And I agree. And I really feel like that, stop dictating everything. That's one thing I want to say first about, you might start realizing that you've been dictating too much and not from a bad place. You're just trying to, maybe help other people do what they're not capable of doing when they're capable of doing that. So maybe when you start realizing to stop dictating those things for other people around you, you start putting that energy back into the self. And, one thing I think is going to change in Pisces, they get some success, but then just plateau forever. Never shine more. So it's like you're gonna start realizing you've been plateauing for a while. That's time to boost it up a little bit more now. And so, and I think a lot of that realization is going to happen when you stop dictating other people around you and stop kind of controlling how people do things around you. And maybe you need to hire that assistant. Actually, maybe you need to get that maid to clean your house. Maybe your relationship, they need to take up some slack of what they're doing and stop carrying the load. So when you allow yourself to minimize what you're being responsible for, then you can start feeling like that. you plateaued for a while. It's time to get some charge up, almost like Aquarians. Like get some light spotlight on you to realize that you can actually accomplish more from what you've plateaued in. And so, yeah, I think that if they take that message to heart, then yeah, I see a lot of massive, great change and boosts in what they're doing. It could be career, relationships, whatever they're trying to focus on in their life will be done in a way they've never done it before, right?
Yeah.
But I do feel like Pisces too tend to get themselves stuck in a routine, and I think they're going to recognize that routine doesn't work.
Yeah, swimming in circles. That's
Yeah.
the routine. That's the two
but
fish
dude-
chasing each other's tails. That's what
Right.
that routine is.
Right.
They
But
do
they're
get
gonna-
stuck.
But yeah, but they're going to feel so when they actually peak out of that, they're going to feel so free and so like I don't really have to control anything. Like I'm flying now. So yeah, it's a great time for them too.
Well, they have Taurus in the third house of communication and thinking.
Mm.
So quite often the Pisces magic has been like depicted as the evil wizard in a Disney film, like, ooh, I know what I would do with this. Like they get in this over analytical control thing, like where they want to just like set it all up so the mouse falls into the trap.
Right.
And it's just like, if you just would have danced like the WB frog, I would have done it. but you didn't. So,
Right.
shout out to Dylan, who was in the office, in the audience tonight. One of our favorite Pisces, Dylan with Human Design. One of
All
our
right,
masters.
Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan Earth. There he is. Peace. Look at that crown and the bicep there.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing the Pisces rise because, like I said,
Yeah.
there's some cool ass wizards, and
Oh yeah.
when they're healthy, man, they are capable of some amazing
Amazing.
magic and
Just-
creative
yeah. Right.
genius when they are emotionally open and allowing things
Right.
to flow. Like come up with
Right.
shit that is just so beyond.
Right. But don't be competitive because I think it's a downside. They can tend to be too competitive sometimes, in what they're doing.
That's
So
Aries in their second. They feel like
Yeah.
they have to compete for money.
yeah.
Because they're spiritual beings and they don't get the whole money thing or work thing, but they don't get the money thing. And so they tend to want to just sit around and have money show up out of nowhere. And so then they're like, oh shit, I've got to compete and show them I'm the.
Right.
So I think they're kind of playing old ego games when it comes to money.
Sure.
But I think that's healing. I think that's healing. I don't think it's a
I think so.
long-term thing.
Yeah, for sure. I saw that also kind of dissipating in their rise to fame, so to speak.
Totally. Yeah, totally. So, all right. Well, I think that was a great summary of all 12 signs.
Oh, that's all
buddy.
12 already. Okay.
Yeah, we did it. We made it to the golden way. Scott Cruz is one of the most talented psychic mediums I've ever met, folks. You can see he's very personable. Sometimes he throws some hard shift on the line, but he tells it like it is. And he's one person I recommend wholly for a reading. I think he'd make a great gift to that mother-in-law who won't shut the fuck up. I think he'd make a great gift to someone who needs to hear the truth. I think he'd make a great gift to, he's that guy that will get in there and not let that person get away with it.
That's true.
So I want to encourage, it's like, if you need a wake-up call, send a Scott Cruz bomb, okay? He's got readings available on his website. We're putting that up right now, the QR code. I know I'll be giving Scott to my entire family for Christmas. Don't worry, Scott, they'll never redeem it. It's basically just a way to give you money and get like credit for having gifts. It's like,
Right. Sure.
yeah, you're gonna find Scott in a lot of stockings.
But your mom will use it.
it. It's like, is this a piece of coal? No, it's Scott Cruz.
It's
actually.
Scott Cole. It's Scott Cole.
Yeah.
And also, too, I want to add too. I definitely work on a lot of the karmic healing too. I just want to add additional to that too. Like a lot of people lately have been really interested in their past life incarnations, and I think because collectively we're all looking for that karmic healing. So I've been noticing a lot more past life regression work that I've been doing with my clients too. So I think it's been very important if you're looking to resolve a lot of karma and confront that and understand where it's stemming from. That's another part of the aspects of reads that I do, and mediumship too. If you have someone who's crossed over, as well.
Oh, he's amazing on that too. Like helping you with the people who passed on. But I'll tell you, Scott's on his way to being a star. You're not gonna be able to afford him soon. So go sell him out right now for us, because I think I'm gonna keep him very busy in 2025. So y'all better go do that right now. So thanks for coming on.
Keep me busy too. Actually, the Housewives still keep me busy. People are still coming from the Housewives. You believe this? I'm like, because I found streaming. I'm like,
that's a good thing. I love it. You're getting all these like bonbon eating Midwestern wives. They're all like,
actually, they're really beautiful, and they're actually a lot of. It's surprising, you would think, right? But a lot of them are very like spiritual. I'm like, whoa, I guess. It's interesting because I think people like psychology of those shows, but yeah, it's been fantastic in that regard.
Well, Bravo keeps that show shallow. Actually, the people on camera are never that shallow, guys. It's called reality TV. which has nothing to do with reality. So yeah, and Scott was great in that show. If you haven't seen it, it's a good look up. Scott also has his shows on Thursday nights where you can hang out in the audience. A lot of our audience is in your audience. We've cross-pollinated here, which is great. And you could just do a one-off question, see for yourself how amazing he is and how accurate he is. He really is truly one of the best. I'm really honored to work with you, dude. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I'm honored too. I'm always a blessing to be here and to be with you. It's just, I count my blessings all the time.
Well, if you're so honored, you can invite me back to your show, but whatever.
Do you have time for me on that?
Of course I do. Talk to my assistant.
Which one is it today? I don't know.
In my head or outside? I don't know.
Right, exactly. Who do I reach? Who is it?
So funny. But stay backstage. We're going to have some fun after.
Okay.
And I'm just going to close the show. Thanks, buddy.
Bye, guys.
Scott Cruz, everyone. I'm still clearing my throat, still clearing my lungs, everybody. So, by the way, we were just talking about this. You can catch Scott and I every week with Leading Out Loud. We just did the Menendez brothers. Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If I could just get that right one of these days. Scott and I are having a great time. We talked about karmic crimes and gotten some deep stuff. He channeled the Menendez brothers, which, by the way, Mr. Menendez was the one responsible for Menudo. It's kind of interesting the way the weaves go in and out. So watch that show. It's live now on Serious Joy YouTube channel and also live on our leadingoutloud.com. Go to leadingoutloud.com and join the fun. Also, we are now saying the White Light Friday sale is coming November 28th. I sound like Oprah Winfrey. You don't want to miss it, the White Light sale. We're going to give Serious Joy $3.99 a month for 2 consecutive months. Now, not only does this do this in a nice low price way, but you'll be grandfathered into certain clauses that will be changing in Q1 of next year. We're no longer going to give everything away. We've been doing everything under the hood for $19.95. Do you know that I've had the same price at Serious Joy for 8 years? We never once raised the price, never once. But that's changing. So if you want to grandfather into some of our clauses and some of the things we have, you got to join the next 60 days and you got to stay. P.S. Maybe you need some help. Maybe you need a little spiritual support. And also PSSS, those of you who've been watching me on YouTube and never signed up, for shame! Come give it a try. I'm giving it away for $4 a month. Come on, come down. I don't want to tolerate it anymore. Come on down. We'll talk about it next time I'm on the air. Speaking of Serious Joy, we have on our self-study hall this week, or excuse me, our not self-study hall, and our soul support group, we have Keeping It Surreal with Kristen Ryder, my soul sister that goes back before Christ. She's doing a transformational stories episode. This is live just to our subscribers of Serious Joy. It will go live at our normal time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and she is currently casting people who've had life-changing stories. P.S. Kristen just went through the hurricane aftermath in Asheville, North Carolina. And so she herself has transformed her life just from Mother Earth alone. Again, one of the many benefits to being a subscriber to Serious Joy. One other benefit, the monthly horoscopes, which we lovingly call the Zodiac Mega Monthlies. We have, with my co-host here, Robbie Hunt, a video Mega Monthly, one that talks about the whole month. We call that the Mega Monthly Show. And then the Zodiac Mega Monthlies, a monthly for each of the 12 signs. Now, here's the caveat. It's based on the sign Scorpio, which means if you haven't seen your monthly yet, you better hurry. It's live right now, and you can understand what you need to know before the sun goes into Sag. Just another benefit of SeriousJoy.com. Sharing is caring. The best thing you can do for us is share us with your friends and family. Word of mouth is the most powerful word. Whenever I ask someone, how did you hear about Serious Joy? They always say, so-and-so told me. I never hear a Google search. I never hear, I found you off of this video. I always hear so-and-so told me. So please be one of those so-and-sos and tell somebody. It would really help us. We're ready to reach the world, and we're ready to bring that rainbow bridge to the planet, and we need your help to get there. You can hang out with us, by the way, in our Facebook group, which is SeriousJoy.club. This is where you can rub elbows and advertise your spiritual business for free. We just don't allow politics in that club. So, yes, we've been kicking people out like flies since the election happened. Also, if you want to follow me on any of our networks, you can go to SeriousJoy.social. That's where our link tree is. And if you rather listen instead of watch, we do turn this show into an audio-only broadcast, which is available on Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. I want to say special thanks to our Scorpio producer, Diane DeStefano. Extra special care and thanks to our graphics, casting, and chat moderation of Nina Kay. Also, welcome our new addition, Sydney. I want to say thanks very much to our Multiverse Master Director and Master Aquarius, Adam Turner. Our teaching staff, Robbie Hunt, who is a who is an Aquarius, Kristen Ryder, who's a Taurus, Gwen English, who is a Scorpio, and Daiki Okamoto, who is a Gemini. Also, special thanks to our super friends. Congratulations to Sydney. She's now joined our volunteer cast. Happy birthday to you. Who's that go to? Margot Melia. So happy birthday to you. Julia Weiss, Princess Coffee Bean, Lori Ship, Nikki Anderson, Experimental Elemental, I love saying it, Erica, Michelle Camper, Michelle Bell, my soul brother, Daryl Blankenship, who I owe so many thanks to for taking care of me when I was in the hospital. Thank you, Daryl. Daryl did that selflessly. He was a wonderful, wonderful friend. Neptune Girl, Jamar, Christine Kelly, and of course, Iggy, the fabulous Iggy, another Aquarius that we just happen to love. All right, friends, that wraps up our weekly edition of Namaste Today Live and Astral Mingle. I'll be back in 1 week with more. Who knows where I'll be? But until then, I know this. I love you. Live, love, be.
It's serious joy, joy, joy.